We're going live. Okay, we'll be live. Shh. Okay. Hi everyone.
Hi.
We're doing the news.
We're doing the news, baby.
We're doing the news. We're gonna be covering news on atheism, secularism, religion, and maybe some political stuff, some culture, but mostly religion. Mostly religion. And you have to like the video. We're here spending time with you, like Susanna is going around researching the news, analyzing it, researching it, spending time on it, and you're getting it for free. I mean, most of you, some of you are actually supporting us on Patreon, so thank you so much for that. If you do want to support us financially, link in the description. But the vast majority of you are getting this service for free, so you might as well just like the video as a thank you. It helps. You don't have to support us financially. You can, but you don't have to. But just the like, which doesn't cost you anything other than half a second, will help our channel grow. You're already supporting us with just a like. So make sure you do like the video right now. Okay, cool.
Yes,
Music by
especially if
yeah.
you can't afford to help us financially. It
Yes.
actually does help us a lot just to like the channel, because we do talk about controversial things that are worth talking about. But YouTube has an issue with it because they're a bunch of
Yeah.
babies.
Oh, over the AGA saying overlay on audio good. Thank you, AGA.
Nailed it.
Sometimes I forget to add the overlay. Cool. All right, so enough with the fluff. We should get into the news. Oh, hi.
Hola.
All right, can we clap for the first news?
Yeah.
First news.
First news. Mother Teresa charity investigated for quote unquote forced conversions. Recently, Indian police have started investigating a charity known as Missionaries of Charity, which was started by the notorious Mother Teresa. According to the authorities in the western state of Gujarat's Vadodara city, the police are inquiring whether the Missionaries of Charity forced the girls in its shelter home to wear crucifix necklaces and read the Bible. Mayank Trivedi, a Vadodara district social officer, stated that his complaint to the police was based on a report by child welfare authorities and other district officials. The Missionaries of Charity denied the allegations. This investigation comes amidst an environment of increasing anti Christian violence in India. Al Jazeera cited activists who say that there have been more than 300 anti Christian incidents in 2021 alone. So I thought that this would be a very interesting story to cover because Mother Teresa is a very controversial figure and her legacy is controversial. And I don't know, I think it's interesting to consider how to talk about these sorts of things, how to acknowledge and be honest about the shady stuff or bad things that her missions or charity has done or that she personally did. But then also, how do you take into account the very tense and heated social situation that's going on in India, where there is a lot of just blatant anti-Christian bigotry that's happening and violence against Christians. It's a complicated issue. Like, Armin, when you hear this, what's your first thought?
First of all, I'm very glad to see that most of our live chat knows and is aware of how bad Mother Teresa was. Mother Teresa was a monster. If people who don't know this,
yeah, like describe it for people who don't know.
I don't want to spend too much time here, but she was obsessed with pain. Like, she wanted people to be in misery. Like, she didn't want to cure people. She wanted to use their pain and misery to bring them to Christ. And if she thought that was a good thing for people to be in pain. And she, it's horrible. And she used her, she wasn't helping people. She was making them worse. And at the same time becoming world famous for it. I don't know. I think you could go read with Christopher Hitchens. He is the main person that highlighted how horrible of a person Mother Teresa was. So it's I mean, it's kind of fitting that an charity named after her is continuing to um, you know keep her legacy as true to her name and everything. However, yeah, this is an issue. Like, how do you bring attention to this while not contributing to anti-Christian discrimination in India? Like, how do you do that? Like, are we being irresponsible by highlighting this given the attention to the situation in India? Like, I mean, this is true, this is the news, and then at the same time, like, I mean, people have this collectivist mindset, and they want to punish people who just happen to be Christian, even though they're not associated with this at all. I guess the way to be responsible about reporting this is to just be like, "Hey, this is happening. This is bad, but you are also a monster if you just collectively want to hold any random Christian responsible for these, for stuff like this. Like, I mean, I don't know how to address this because collectivism is um such a big part of people's DNA. Like, it's just how our minds are broken to think like that. So you can't just be like, hey, cut it out, and just expect it for people to cut it out. So are we part of the problem by highlighting a story like this? I don't know what to do.
Well, I don't think so, because the whole reason why we're talking about it is to discuss this contention. Like, that we can have a nuanced conversation by saying, yes, this woman and her legacy is painful and bad. And so we're inclined to be skeptical towards organizations that she founded, right? But we can also say, hey, given the environment, this might not be entirely warranted, right? Like, based on the reports that I was reading, it's not clear that there's substantive evidence against this actual organization,
Mm.
And so I wanted to talk about it so that we could have an honest conversation about this legacy and the influence of Christianity that she brought specifically, but then also be like, well, I'm not too sure about this actual accusation.
But even if this accusation is completely true, it still doesn't, like, it still shouldn't, like, we shouldn't we shouldn't be suggesting that the anti-Christian hatred would be justified, even if this is true. Do you know what I mean?
Did what I said sound like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
good.
yeah, I mean, maybe if you're not, I don't know, maybe it could to some people, to idiots. But then again, like, okay, so here's how you can tell people, okay? Like, if they want to look at this, examples like this, even if it's true, okay? So, and be like, okay, then the Christians are asking for it or whatever. Like, it would, and talk about Christians as if they're all just one unanimous group, and homogenous group of people that should be hated or whatever. You can tell, like, the way you could tell them that that's unfair is by reminding them that they have people in their group that do things that they condemn, right? Like, many Hindus and even Hindutva would be like, okay, well, that person was like like, you see some actually, a lot of time they justify it, but I'm hoping most of the time they don't justify a lot of the worst things they do. Like, for example, I don't know, like cow vigilantes, when they go and attack Muslims for slaughtering cows or whatever, or selling cows or whatever, right? There are a lot of Hindutva who come and say, like, well, that's not okay, I guess. Like, maybe we shouldn't be going that far, right? And that doesn't say, like, it's just because some people do it that you can't be like, all of Hindutva is like this, right? And we're like, okay, well, there you go. Like, if you want to use that if you want to say that, some Hindutva doing something doesn't mean that we're all responsible. That every single Hindu or Hindutva is like a cow vigilante or like extremist. Then use the same logic towards the. Let me just remove this troll from the live chat. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I wanted to give a little bit more information about the actual accusations here. So, there was a first information report, or FIR, that was registered, and it was filed by the district social defense officer who visited the shelter. And then, when he did this, he was accompanied by the district's child welfare committee chairman. And the complaint claims that they found the girls being forced to read Christian religious texts at the shelter, and that similar activities were being conducted with the, quote, intention of steering them into Christianity. Interestingly enough, the organization has been booked under Section 295A of the Indian Penal Code. And for those who are paying attention, you will know that that is India's equivalent of the blasphemy law. And they've also been booked under 298, which is deliberately uttering words to wound the religious feelings of another. They say between February 10th and December 9th of this year, the institution has been involved in activities to hurt the religious sentiments of the Hindus intentionally and with bitterness. The girls inside the home for girls are being lured to adopt Christianity by making them wear the cross around their neck and also placing the Bible on the table of the storeroom used by the girls in order to compel them to read the Bible. This is an attempted crime to force religious conversion upon the girls. And,
wait, how's that forced?
Well, exactly. And the description of it is so weird. So it's like you have a Bible on a table in like a storage room, and that's being compelled to read the Bible. Like, that doesn't make sense to me at all. But
okay, so this is not even forced conversion. These people are just making stuff up, right?
Well, and what's interesting is that the shelter, in response, they contend that, quote, the organization's the girls in the organization at this shelter, quote, practice as they see us doing the same when we pray and leave. We pray and live. So they're saying, like, we pray and live, and then the girls see us do it this way, and then they kind of copy us, which is very normal for children. But it's also kind of
so these people are just like, okay, so this is kind of like a love jihad situation, isn't it? Like, people are actively making decisions to be like, this is just my choice. They're like, no, you have no agency. You've been brainwashed and forced into marrying this Muslim. And now, like, this is like, maybe we have some examples of forced conversion, but what I'm assuming is that they exaggerated, and now everybody just like being influenced by any Christian messaging all of a sudden. I mean, technically children.
That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah. I mean, but these people don't think. I mean, okay.
What do you mean these people?
No, okay, no. I'm talking about religious people. Religious people are not like making our arguments that, oh, children should never be exposed to religion at all. Like, it's not like they're coming from that perspective, looking at it from that perspective, right? Like, they're not coming from this enlightened position that, oh yeah, kids, it's brainwashing to expose to sell religion to kids overall. Given that they don't have that, I don't think they have that perspective. I think like they're exaggerating how forced the nature of this is. Like, I mean, are they gonna assume that Muslims and Christians are being forced into Hinduism with all this Hindu symbolism all over India? Like, is that forced conversion as well? Like,
no,
you can't have.
They would just say that that's part of their civilizational identity.
Well, I mean, that's part of also Christianity and Islam is part of their civilizational identity as well. I mean, I don't know. It just makes no sense. Well, look at some here.
Well, there was one thing I wanted to say. This is really interesting for me to consider because I was someone who was raised in Catholic schools my entire life. I have friends who went to Catholic school in India. And when you go to Catholic school, in my experience, you are exposed to Christian and Catholic texts. It's part of your curriculum. It's part of your rubric of what you have to learn. So in America, that's what's understood when you are embarking on going to a private school to get, like, if you go to a private religious school, this is just part of the package, right? Like, we wouldn't conceptualize that as a forced conversion. But it's interesting for me to think about how a setup or a system like that comes into contention with these anti-conversion laws or sentiment in India. Like, and it's very clear, if you know anything about Catholicism or specifically the Jesuit tradition, that they explicitly say that bringing education to people is essentially one of their tools to bring people to Christ. Now, usually they couch it by saying that it's through teaching people, they'll help them, have a better quality of life. But as you being their teacher, you're supposed to be embodying characteristics of Christ and embodying his message in the way that you carry yourself. And that this will inspire people to be curious and to embark upon, gaining the salvation through Christ. So I also can't lie and pretend like that's not a dynamic of what's going on here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think the best, like, as Fady is mentioning in live chat, the name for that is indoctrination, not forced conversion. I think, yes. So here, yes. So we as atheists do have a problem with kids being exposed to religion, but I was like, forced conversion is not the right terminology here. So, but that's what we call it. It's indoctrination, because just because, like, you see Bibles and you're exposed to religious material, you can't just call that forced conversion. That is what it's. That's why we have an issue with it. There's nothing forced here, right? So I think that's the best. Okay, let's read some live chat comments that I starred.
Yeah, Secularity is saying, I understand the caution, Armin. I think by pointing out the hesitation to instantly condemn this with no context goes a long way in showing you are not for the anti-Christian hatred and violence.
For not for the anti-Christian hatred for violence. Yeah, but no, I don't agree with this, because this suggests that if I was condemning it, then I would be for anti-Christian hatred and violence, right? So there's two different things. First of all, we're skeptical about this being a forced conversion or not, right? But then the second part is, even if it was a case of forced conversion, that would still not justify any anti-Christian hatred or violence, right? Like, yeah, like, there's two levels here, okay? So there's that. Here's another one.
Liberal Bengali Hindu is saying anti-Christian sentiment in India is not so extreme as anti-Muslim sentiments. What's the use of doing this? Okay, if you mean doing this in terms of us covering this story, well, one, the anti-Muslim sentiment is so extreme in India that, like, anything else pales in comparison. That doesn't mean it's not worth addressing. Two, there is it's well documented that the cases of anti-Christian violence in India is increasing, and it's increasing particularly within the past few years. So yes, it's worth talking about.
Yeah, I mean, this is about whataboutism. Like, do things have to be the worst case for us to, like, does it have to be, like, if you want to talk, like, I don't understand this, like, if we want to talk about the worst thing, then we can't do live streams about anything. We should just all talk about climate change and the possibility of AI taking over, and there's nothing else.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man.
Nothing else worth talking about.
Pack up and go home, guys. It's over.
Like, every live stream everywhere on the planet should be either about climate change or AI taking over. That's
man, I thought this show was already depressing enough.
All right, let's go to this one.
Fady is saying how conversions are forced to Christianity. I mean, unlike Islam, new Christian converts can simply revert the moment they are out the door.
Yeah, there's nothing forced here. I mean, it's indoctrination. That's what it is. Okay, it's nothing. Nobody's being forced. Okay, there's no penalties for you not becoming a
Based on
Christian.
our understanding, no one's being
Yeah,
forced.
yeah, no.
And Hindutva Susanna is saying, why do Christians want us to convert in the first place? It's a demographic engineering for political gains. Okay, so
Wow,
okay,
the
so you don't understand how
self-awareness.
Christianity works. Hindutva Susanna, I would like to explain to you that Christians feel compelled to convert people to Christianity because they believe that through accepting Jesus Christ, that person will achieve salvation and be saved from hell. Now, you could talk about the impact or, uh, for lack of a better term, goals of Christianity as a concept or like on a large scale, right? But as individuals, Christians who are like they most of the time they just genuinely believe that they want what's best for other people and they think that this is what's best for other people. Now we obviously disagree.
I
But
mean, they technically, I mean, that's technically the reason, and but how honest people are about it. Like the Christians are different. Like here's the thing. Here's I have a problem. Why do Christians want us to convert? You have too many us's in your sentence, Hindutva Susanna. Why do Christians want to convert us in the first place? Christians are not one group. Like they're not they all the same. Depends on the Christian, okay? Arguably, it should be because they care about your eternal soul, okay? That's what's on paper. But individually, you can't make a general statement about all Christians. One Christian is different from another. Like, how could you even ask a question like that? How could you even think about an entire group of people like that, okay? And then say it's demographic engineering for political gains. Look how stupid your claim is. You're making a judgment on an entire, like the most popular, the largest religion in the world, and you're coming up with a judgment for all of them at the same time. Like you're dumb. Okay, you are. This is a dumb statement. Okay, and another thing, the level of self-awareness when coming from Hindutva, they're doing this for demographic engineering. Like, look in the mirror. Look in the goddamn mirror.
But it's
Like,
me. What if
it's
I looked in the mirror and it's
I know.
Hindutva Susie looking back?
And it's yeah. I mean,
I'm like,
Hindutva is defined as more of a political ideology than a religious one. Anyway, like it's designed to be. Oh my god. Anyways, I don't want to go further.
yeah, it's not worth it.
Like it's even more fair to generalize the goal for Hindutva than it is for Christians, right? Because like Islam, Hindutva is a political ideal, is inherently more political. Like I understand that Christianity is also political in some senses, and Hinduism has a lot of politics in it as well. But being so, like, when it comes to being very politically centered and making the ideology have a very, like, the political goals of the ideology being front and center, you don't get that with the Hinduism or Christianity. You get that with Islam and Hindutva. Okay, so these having these goals, Hindutva, look in the mirror. So anyways, here's another one, and then we have to move on soon.
Katie is saying, my school had us go to the chapel every day and also pray Our Father and gave us copies of the New Testament. As much as I hate religion and education, is it forced conversion now?
I mean, Katie is an atheist, so I guess if it was forced, then how is she an atheist? Right. So, like this, like somebody saying, not forced, LOL, we'll give you food if you come to church. No church, okay, good luck. So they're giving out food to poor people. So I mean, is that?
But here's the thing: they're saying that there is a form of religious compulsion in the distribution of these services. Now,
I mean,
and it'd be
you don't
stupid to
have
act like
to.
forced conversion didn't happen in Christian history. Obviously, like just check out the Spanish missions in California. But Well, I think it's completely unethical. Let me be clear. I think it's
Yeah.
completely unethical to have a religious compulsion in the distribution of services. Just saying you have to go to church and like listen to a liturgy, that's not actually making you a Christian. Like they're not baptizing you, they're not giving first reconciliation and then first communion, right? Or they're not doing the full catechism. Well, that's for Catholics.
How could you force anybody to become a Christian? You could literally just go there and do a prayer and get the food and get out and be like, psych.
Well, okay. Forced conversions
Like,
definitely did happen in Christianity, obviously.
okay, yes, but this is not. Yes, exactly. This is not an example of it. People used to be burned alive. I mean, I'm not endorsing this. If you want to help poor people, just give them food. You don't have to make a. You don't have to. Don't make them go through prayers and stuff. Like, I mean, technically, it's better than nothing. It's better than not giving them food, right? It's not like they had. It's not like if you didn't do this, they would have food automatically, right? I mean, if this is, I mean, I guess they would have food if this is tax exempt and these people are not paying their fair share of taxes. And this could have gone to a government service that would not be religious, not be conditioned on religion. So yeah, it is harmful. We don't endorse it, but it's not forced conversion. It's bad for other reasons. Just because we say it's not forced conversion, that doesn't mean it's good. It is bad, but for other reasons. You can't you can't like make people like, can you force somebody to believe 2 + 2 is 5? Like, try it. Can you force yourself to believe 2 + 2 is 5? It's impossible.
There are some wild postmodernists out there who really get into that.
No, but they're not forced into it.
Exactly.
They're volunteering. You can never force anybody to believe anything. It's impossible. It's like, yeah. Anyways, that's this one.
Secularity say, no, I was saying that giving context is a way that shows that you are against the violence, not the condemnation. Yeah, I understood what you meant. And then, interestingly enough, secularity is saying the Mormons in Utah offer social services, but they require that people join the temple before giving them services. God damn, how are they tax exempt? That's so crazy. Like, don't even get me started on my opinions on Catholic NGOs and how they operate in Africa, for example. It's horrendous, okay? Like, in our American taxpayer dollars goes towards like organizations like that. So I don't want people to think that I'm totally fine with this construction. I have so many issues with it. Yeah, I think that'd be an interesting conversation, like topic to have a larger conversation about sometime.
Yeah,
because it's so complex.
By the way, I do want to ask people who say that some of these examples are forced conversion to Christianity. I want to ask them, what would it look like if they were advocating for Christianity and weren't forcing people? Like, what would it look like to them? Because I'm assuming these people, any advocacy for people to become Christian, I'm assuming a lot of these Hindutva, they would categorize all of it as forced conversion. So like, tell me what it would be. Like, if you can't put a Bible in front of somebody to be like, oh, this is forced conversion, then how is a Christian supposed to invite you to Christianity without it being forced? Like,
I think a better term would be like incentivized conversion. And I do think
if it's children, indoctrination, say indoctrination.
No, but let's say that it's adults for receiving services, like incentivized conversion. Like, I think that's unethical. And that has happened particularly in the Indian subcontinent historically.
Right. This is a good comment.
Katie is saying, meanwhile, many Hindufa politicians do want schools to teach the Vedas and the Gitas so students can learn, quote, true Indian values. Oh, geez.
Okay, this is forced because you have. This is forced.
That's indoctrination.
No, well, I mean, this is actually technically also forced because you don't have to go to the church. You could be like, you know what, shove your food up your whatever. But school, you can't avoid going to school, right? So, anyways, all right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yeah, this is pretty hilarious.
Next news.
Next news. Italian Catholic bishop tells children that Santa isn't real.
No.
And
I mean,
boy, did it became a problem. In Italy, on December 9th, the Roman Catholic Diocese of Noto issued an apology for Bishop Antonio Sagliano's comment regarding Santa Claus not being real after facing outrage from angry parents. On on St. Nicholas's Day, Stagliano told children at a festival where he was speaking that Santa doesn't exist. He also added that the red color of the suit that Santa wears was chosen by the Coca-Cola company exclusively for advertising purposes.
I mean, he's not
Reverend
wrong.
Alessandro Paolino, the Diocese of Noto's communications director, explained via Facebook that the bishop's, quote, intentions were quite different. Stagliano explained to a local news outlet in Italy that he had intended to help the children, quote, distinguish what is real from what is not,
Oh my
clearly
God.
missing the irony that is apparent to non-believers. He emphasized that he wished to highlight the true meaning of Christmas in contrast to the modern commercialization that took away the holiday spirit.
I mean, the irony is so obvious that I don't even know if we need to point it out. Like, yeah, I can see the live chat is already pointing it out. Like, it's such an low hanging fruit. I don't even know. Like, oh my God. Like, do you need evidence? Do you need evidence? Is the lack of evidence something that you have an issue with? By the way, what do you think? By the way, do you think like I mean, as if I was
Do
a
I think
parent?
Santa's real?
No, I think. Do you think parents
Yes.
should tell? Like, yeah, if I was a parent, I would be telling my kids that right away that Santa is not real, but it's fun to play pretend, right? Like, we're playing pretend. Yeah, let's pretend Santa is real. Like, I would do that to him, right? But I don't know. Do you think like that's what I would do? But do you think like if you're not the parent and somebody else tells your kid, that's like that's bad, right? Like that shouldn't be done.
Yeah, unless that kid asks that other adult. You know, like
Mm.
if I had children, I don't think I would do Santa with them. I never understood like some kids have a genuine like emotional connection, like a bond to Santa. And I never experienced that because I figured out that Santa wasn't real like between the ages of 4 and 6, like very early. Like I know children who believed in Santa until the age of 10. Like that's very late. And when
Oh
they
my God.
finally found out, they were genuinely emotionally devastated over it. Like I don't
Really?
think that's good. Oh yeah, I remember seeing my friend's sister like broken. Like I
What
don't think that's
age?
good. Like late, like 10.
Okay, they're not very smart. Like by age
Okay, all right.
10, by age 10 you can't tell like it's like how could a 10-year-old, like, come on, by 10 we were doing physics. Like, you can't tell that a man cannot like visit that many kids in one night and fit through a chimney by age 10. You can't tell. What the like
Second very scene, damn Armin, twist the knife, why don't you?
like, I would be like ashamed if that was my
Oh
kid.
my god. I don't know, like, well, and this is part of the problem. Like, some families really go to great lengths to like maintain this tradition or this lie. And I don't think it's good. So it was interesting. I think Apostate Prophet had an interesting post or like thread where he talked about how he told his kids who are like quite young that Santa isn't real because he's like, I just like didn't have the heart. Like, why would I lie to them or something like that? But it's interesting for like atheists or skeptics to talk about that issue. But what I also thought was funny was how angry the parents were, like that this bishop did this. Like they lost their shit. There was an international outrage. Like, how dare you, sir? And it also speaks to this interesting contention that Christians have to deal with nowadays. And this was a big thing in my family, like trying to actively keep the commercialization and secularization really of Christmas at arm's length, and it emphasized like, no, this is Christian. This is Christian. This is not about Santa. This is about Christ. This is about the gift of Christ's birth. Like, let's put everyone claro, okay? Like, like, you know, and so that's what he was talking about in other excerpts from what he was saying. Like trying to talk about, okay, well, even if we do believe in Santa Claus or Saint Nicholas, like it's supposed to be about his gift giving. It's not supposed to be about the buying, the receiving, the getting, which is what a lot of Christian
Do you
parents
think?
have
Do you
issue with their
think
children
like?
with.
What do you think will cause more outrage? A teacher telling kids that Santa is not real, or a teacher telling the kids that God is not real?
Which would cause more outrage?
Yeah, from parents
Well,
in
where?
United States. United States.
Where in the United States?
An average in the average of United States parent reaction. I would say Santa.
I think God. I think God. Because like most parents know that they're going to have to tell their kids that Santa isn't real at some point. But if a teacher told their kids that God isn't real, that might actually, in terms of averages, is likely against the beliefs of the parents. So they're like, oh, now you're insulting me as well. You're taking this away from me as well, not just my child.
Well, I think like maybe like some people would be more upset with Santa even if they believe in God, because they think like, you can't remove God from our family. Who are you? Like, you can't do that, right? But like Santa, they know they know that he's not real, and they're like, their kids has a limited time to enjoy it, and they think like you took that away from them if you do that. But they think like maybe God is not like, you pathetic atheist. You can't take God away from our kids. You know, and maybe they feel less threatened. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Have you seen religious people?
That's why I said average United States. Like I'm assuming like I'm averaging Texas and California and everywhere else, you know, in your country. Anyways, let's look at this comment. I want to address this.
Megamum is saying, I take objection to Armin's statement. Someone can be innocent as a child, but they can do well later on in life. Judging others is bad. Read Carl Dweck's mindset.
So you have a misunderstanding.
Talking about saying that the kid who believed in Santa they were telling was
yeah. Okay, first of all, kid, yes, we have when you say kid, you're talking about a large group of people, right? When you say kid, we're talking about a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old. They're both kids, but obviously the standards are extremely different when it comes to what your expectations are. Okay, so there's that. So you can't just say like, oh, as a kid. Secondly, this is not a very smart comment. You're assuming somebody can be. I said they're dumb. I didn't say they're guilty. I said they're idiots. I said a 10-year-old who believes in Santa is a stupid 10-year-old.
And you didn't say anything about later on in life.
What does that got to do with them being innocent or not? Innocent, you could be dumb and innocent at the same time. Like, in fact, you're more likely to be innocent if you're dumb. Like, because you have you could be like, I didn't cause harm on purpose. I'm a dumbass. Like, I don't know what does innocent got to do with somebody being smart or not? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So.
Fadi has an interesting comment. He's saying discovering that a fictional person is actually fictional can help train your mind to be more flexible to accept that other entities are also fictional. Exactly.
Yeah, actually, I mean, that's what you would think, but I don't understand how so many people believed in Santa, and then they grew up realizing that their parents were lying to them. How is it that the vast majority of the planet of Christians don't be like, wait a second,
what if we went one step higher?
Wait, everybody told me that this thing is real, and now I find it's a lie. Like, why wouldn't they question like, hey, what if what if God is also a lie? I mean, they're pretty similar. Like, they both have a list. They have a naughty and good list and a bad list, and people get punished for doing bad things. And you're like, hey, this is very similar to the Jesus. Like, I don't know. I mean, he looks like Zeus. He looks like he looks like a traditional, I mean, it's so similar. How could the people don't wonder? Like, even if they conclude, like, okay, fine, maybe God is real. How does this not lead to more people, more teenagers wondering about, okay, maybe God is alive? Why does that not happen? It should happen.
You know what's interesting is I know some skeptics or atheists who actually have like Santa with their children, specifically so that later when they're a little bit older, they can teach them how to be skeptical towards that kind of thing. They're like, okay, well, like, how do we? Because when the kids start going to them and asking, like, hey, is this real? And they're like, well, actually, let's figure out how we would maybe test if this is real. Like, they use it as an exercise. So I thought that.
Yeah, but
that's
I
an
would never
interesting
lie
way
to my
approach
kids,
it.
because then, like, why would you ever trust me if I lie to you? You know what I mean? Like, if you were like, yes, I was lying to you for like 5 years. Now this is reality. I was like, what is it? Like, yeah, like, you lied to me I don't know if you're a good source anymore for any information, given that you've been lying to me for so many years. So that's why I would never lie to them. I would just be like, I wouldn't take the fun of Santa. I would show them how things don't have to, fiction doesn't have to be real for us to be able to enjoy it. Like, if I'm reading Harry Potter to my kids, I don't have to tell them that this stuff happened for us to enjoy it, right? So why can't we enjoy Santa without telling them that it's real? Like, it's still fun. Like, there's fun in fiction. Like, I tell them, like, just, it doesn't have to be real for us to be able to pretend that it's real. Let's play pretend. Like, kids know how to play pretend. Kids, not all kids are dumb. Okay, so when many kids, when they acting like, I'm a tiger now, like, as a 4-year-old is smart enough to know when she's playing like on a unicorn, she's not literally a unicorn. She understands the difference, that you could enjoy things by pretending. So given that they can understand that when they're playing pretend, then why can't you do that with other things? Why can't you do that with Santa? Anyways. Okay. I didn't expect myself to get so worked up over this, but
yeah, right. I'm like, okay.
All right.
Go off, King.
All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can.
Next news.
United States calls for diplomatic boycott of Beijing Olympics, citing Uyghur genocide. On December 6th, Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, announced that the United States government had imposed a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing 2022 Olympics. As a result, the Biden administration will not send any diplomatic or official representation to the Beijing 2020 Winter Olympics or the Paralympic Games. Psaki cited China's ongoing genocide against its Uyghur ethnic minority population and other crimes against humanity, adding that, quote, the United States diplomatic or official representation would treat these games as business as usual in the face of the People's Republic of China's, or PRC's, egregious human rights abuses and atrocities in Xinjiang. Not sending official representation could, quote, send a clear message, she stated. Liu Pengyu, the spokesperson for Beijing's embassy in Washington, D.C., called the boycott, quote, a pretentious act and a political manipulation. Although no diplomatic or official representation will be sent, United States athletes can still travel and compete in the Winter Olympics. After the announcement from the United States, Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, Lithuania, and Kosovo have also joined the diplomatic boycott, again citing human rights concerns.
So, you know the obvious reaction to this, right?
What, like Chinese diplomats acting like babies?
So, no. Okay, well, let me, before I
Am I paused or is it Armin? Let me check the stream. Oh no, it's him. Shoot. Oh no, maybe his internet went out. Okay. Well, I'll just continue talking about this until hopefully he comes back. Or music guy is saying, "Oh shoot. Oh, his internet definitely went out if it just took his screen away." God damn it. Okay, give me a second, guys. I'm gonna pull this up, the article up on my computer. Sorry for the break. Armin really went bye-bye. Santa froze Armin. Okay. Until Armin comes back, you guys are going to have to give me a little, oh god damn it, a little bit of patience as I have to manage the screen sharing and all this stuff by myself. We got to multitask over here, friends. Okay. There we go. One moment. Okay. So, I thought that this was very interesting and something worth talking about, because, you know, a lot of people talk about the Olympics that happened under Yahtzee Germany. And when I'm saying Yahtzee, I mean the bad people from World. Hey, he's back.
Yes.
You should have seen my reaction. I was like gaslighting myself. I'm like, is it just me or is this really happening? What were you gonna say? You were saying about the expected reaction, and
no, I was gonna say about like people talking about United States' own human rights violations.
What aboutism? Oh, shut the front door. He's frozen again. Okay, I'm just gonna bring my screen back, and I'm gonna talk. So, okay, I'm going to take a gander at, or take a guess of what I reckon Armin was about to say. So, I'm guessing that he was going to bring up how, in the face of the United States doing a diplomatic boycott over China because of genocide, people might feel like they would want to bring up how the United States participated in, or the construction of the United States, came at the cost of genocide of its native people, or maybe other atrocities in foreign nations or foreign wars. And, I don't know what he was going to say, but I think if someone gives that criticism, it's very important to point out that this is a genocide that's happening right now, right? And also, when they try to bring up the genocide of the Native Americans, like, there was no like international Olympics at that point. I don't know what people are talking about.
Hey. I don't know, my connection is, I'm gonna probably get kicked out again at some point.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna keep my screen up. But I was basically I was attempting to make your point for you, saying if people try to bring up genocides that America has done, they're basically just participating in whataboutism. And this is an effort to address something that's happening today. Yeah. Is that what you were gonna say?
Well, no, but that's actually a good point.
That's cool.
Point. That's actually a better point than what I was gonna make. So there's that. No, but I was also gonna mention that even if it's true, this is still a good thing. Like, like we promote holding China responsible for their human rights violations. And if there's another event that is trying to hold United States responsible for its human rights violations, we will support that as well, right? Like if some other countries do something like boycott United States for their involvement in Yemen, for example, we're like, yeah, you go do that, fantastic, So so whatever, as long as countries are facing consequences for their human rights violations, we will support the act, e- even even if it's being done by people who we don't support. However, I do have to mention that when it comes to United States, just like China's government, is not one entity, right? And the current administration is not responsible for the crimes that United States government has committed before. Not all of them. Like Biden is responsible for like Iraq and some other things. But if you want to judge the current administration, not just by Biden, but the entirety of Biden's administration, it is so far looking like they are doing a relatively better job in caring about human rights. Not, I mean, I know there are many examples that will say otherwise, right?
It's far from
We
perfect.
far from perfect. We actually covered some of the drone strike, for example, in Kabul, that was horrendous.
Hmm.
However, talking about drone strikes, um, they have been reduced significantly, but under Biden, like they are extremely less. Like if you look, I was trying to bring up the graphs to show you, because it just looks like it shows like Bush, Obama, and then Trump. It goes higher, and then Biden's. It just goes like it's invisible. Like they have silently been removing strikes, airstrikes, right? Which is amazing. Like that's something that they should be congratulated for. A lot of the like they pulled out of Afghanistan. People said they won't, and they did. The Yemen situation, they behind the scenes, they have actually pushed, they have made a lot of they have moved forward a lot faster than a lot of people anticipated in not supporting Saudi Arabia in the war in Yemen. Like not as fast as we would like them,
Yeah.
but fast, but much faster than a lot of people. Like the pressure is there. Again, it's not perfect at all. It's actually still very horrible, but relative to almost every president, the last four presidents before him, Biden is seems to make care about human rights more than, again, when I say relative, the bar is very low, but still it's still progress, and things can change fast, and Biden could do something that we come and say like, okay, that no, um, things have moved backwards now, but so far by the Biden administration is one of the best political entities, units out there that could be used as holding governments like China responsible for their, like they do have the moral standing relative to other um many other institutions, like maybe not Europe would be better, but they don't have the political power or the
Mm.
willingness. I mean, France has been like, for example, also like United States led the way on this, and a lot of countries followed. I don't know if you
I
know
just
that.
wanted to talk about that actually. I think it's quite
Yeah,
significant. Like, because
yeah.
people
So
want to act like these kinds of things have no meaning. First of all, China is extremely butthurt over this. Like, they're like, some of their politicians or spokespeople were literally like, well, you weren't invited anyways. It's like, actually, yeah, that's how the Olympics works, numbnuts.
so butthurt. They're
So,
so
like
butthurt.
I saw this gif earlier today and it's like the laughing face. It's a laughing crying, except it has an angry expression and it's just repeatedly rotating. And I was like, oh my god, that's like a Chinese spokesperson. They're like,
No, like they're seriously like they're like children. This it's CCP. I'm not talking about China. I'm talking about the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
CCP. Don't come at me with accusations of racism. Okay, I'm specifically talking about CCP. Okay,
Government officials.
they are like they are. You know, I can't like. I was like, I used to think like m- many Muslims seem to be extremely sensitive and butthurt. Okay, like I was like it can't get worse than this. And then I met Trump supporters. I'm like, okay, never mind. It can't get worse than this. Like the level of sensitivity when it comes to criticism. And then I met like many Hindutva. I was like, okay, never, no, sorry, sorry, Ummah community, sorry, Trump supporters, you're not as sensitive as like Hindutva. Okay, this is it. This is the highest level of, you know, uh, the trigger alerts. Every trigger alert everywhere in the world just exploded once the Hindutva notice that their gods could be drawn in sexy ways, right? But then now I'm like looking at the CCP and I'm like, okay, even Hindutva doesn't have anything over the CCP. Like they will crash their own economy if they have to, just to get back at Australia. Do you know what I mean? Like Australia, like, oh, we need to investigate where this like disease comes from. Like, we need to investigate more. Like, we need your coal, but like we're gonna, and we're like having an energy shortage, but we're just gonna stop buying coal from Australia. And their city, like, lights are literally going out in their streets because they don't have enough coal. But they're so butthurt, like they're like people don't understand. We're talking about billions of dollars of economic damage just because they're butthurt over what Australia said, right? What do they call this? Call this wolf warrior diplomacy, like something
Yes,
like
exactly.
that. Yeah. Okay. And now over there, like they're telling the world. So the United States said, like, we're not gonna go, and Germany and some other countries were like, okay, we're not gonna go either because of United States. So good job in United States leading the way when it comes to making human rights an issue. Again, I'm not saying every United States does everything right, but when they do something right, we have to congratulate that. We have to see that. You can't just do a stick. You have to do the carrot as well when it comes to the politicians, right? You can't just be like always like bad politician, bad politician. You also have to be like, oh, good politician, good job, politician. You did a good thing. Here's the carrot. Okay, here's the treat. Right? So you have to recognize that. But now the CCP is responding with like, we weren't going to invite you anyways. Like, do you think we're idiots? Do you think the entire world is like stupid? You were like, you were not going to invite like, it's the Olympics. When have you not had the politicians from other countries? Like, of course you were going to invite them. Like, what? Like, it's like we were gonna invite you anyways. Like, are you serious? Like, this is like a 10-year-old. This is like a little girl at the party that like there's like that the people don't show up for her birthday, and she was like, well, I wasn't gonna invite them anyway. Like not being invited to the cool kid table. This is like so pathetically childish. Like, who would believe you? But go on,
Yeah, I
sorry.
think it's really important to talk about how anyone who thinks that they also accuse the US of politicizing sports. The Olympics is exactly that. That is the construction of the Olympics. And anyone who tries to pretend otherwise is deluded. Yes, it is the preeminent platform to see spectacular sportsmanship and athleticism. Of course. And it's awesome. It's freaking awesome. But it is also how countries demonstrate their national pride and prowess on the global stage. It always has been. Why, like, so especially for the host cities and the host countries. And so acting like this hasn't always been about politics is just ridiculous and so out of touch and ahistoric. And I think it's also interesting to see how the United States really led the way on this. And as of like, it was a few days ago that like last week, all these other countries joined the diplomatic boycott. I think maybe even more have joined since then, like Australia, the UK, Canada, Lithuania, and Kosovo. And so people who act like this has no, this is like just symbolic, this doesn't do anything. Well, then why did, as soon as the United States did, all these other countries followed?
This has a huge effect.
It has a huge impact, and it's sending the
God.
message to China.
Oh.
That we're not going to stand by and give this our seal of approval by sending our representation there, because these countries don't want to face the criticism that the countries that participated in the Olympics that happened under Nazi Germany, they like, how could you support this regime? You're implicitly endorsing and approving of this regime by attending and participating in this. They're trying to put that at arm's length in this case, while still allowing the athletes who have dedicated their lives to honing these extremely specific skills and this mastery of their sport, still allowing them that opportunity, but trying to put the distance and saying our government is not going to participate and endorse this in any way, shape, or form. Because if these accusations of genocide are in any way true, that's a black stain on us. We can't deal with that in the 21st century.
If it didn't matter, China wouldn't be spending billions and billions of dollars to whitewash its image globally. Like, this is like insane for people who say these kind of things don't matter. Like, your international political capital depends on the average view citizens of each country have of your country. You know what I mean? Especially in more democratic countries, the way that you get to throw your weight around into other countries' politics will not be completely dependent on, but somewhat correlated to how positively or negatively the average citizen views your government, right? So that's why, and that's the reason why these countries like Saudi Arabia or China's government or even the Islamic Republic of Iran, well, that's why they spend the money to go and trying to run the world, trying to whitewash their image, right?
There are a few comments by Asian American that I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I also started a couple other ones as well. If you want to highlight those.
Asian American. Also, Asian American, can you please translate for me what does Wu Mao mean? Because I know that the basically CCP equivalent of an IT cell, they're called Wu Mao, and they are the most fragile, butthurt little babies I've ever seen. But that actually means something. I'm trying to remember what it means. So if you could help me out with that, that'd be super helpful. But Asian America is saying 2 genocidal countries holding each other accountable until no more genocides are left.
Okay, no, this is unfair, okay? A currently genocidal country versus a formal genocidal country. Right? So United States right now only supports other countries' genocides. United States doesn't do its own genocide. Okay, there is a difference. So
and we do have massive problems with that support. Like, let's be clear, yes. We're not trying to minimize or diminish that.
Yes, we're talking about Yemen specifically, right?
Yes.
So, and also, Biden's administration has been heavily trying to reduce that support. Okay, so that's a good thing. But you can't look at these countries as if these countries today are the same as they were before. Okay, so there's that.
Asian American is also talking about why they're so fragile, saying, I think it's because the CCP are not used to trolls due to government censorship. You know, that's actually a very interesting comment. I wouldn't be surprised if that's not the case. Like, they're just not used to getting it like super hard. Whereas in America, like, well, I mean, it's really messed up. This stuff that our politicians have to deal with. Not like dealing with criticism is a bad thing, but I mean, like, we're at the point in our political discourse where it's like frequent death threats. Like, that's not okay. But yeah, that just complete fragility towards anything negative it's very exaggerated and extreme when you start looking at how they react to things. Oh, and then in response to Armin talking about the power outages and crashing your own economy to save face, he's saying the CCP is trying to spin the darkening cities as their commitment to carbon neutrality.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, my.
I don't know how seriously to take... I mean, I don't think it's like a binary, okay? A lot of times, like, China is going to run out of energy, and they were like, well, we're just trying to switch away from carbon. But they're also actually investing into green energy, and that should be celebrated. You know, that should be celebrated.
I mean, at the what's that
conference
called?
Guys,
overall, they have no interest in terms of like participating to the fullest extent that they should be in terms of lowering emissions. Like, let's be clear.
Well, I mean, they do want to be leading. I mean, they do want to be a major investor in green technology. I mean, it does have political capital for them and economical interest for them if they are involved in that. It's not binary. It's not like they do exaggerate how committed they are to it. They're not as committed to it as they say they are. but it's not like they're not interested. Like, so it's not 100, but it's also not 0. It's not like they're not interested in green technology and going off carbon at all. It's not 0 as well, right? So they do exaggerate their commitment, but they are actually somewhat interested. And again, guys, I genuinely wish them well. Like, it's not like we're against the CCP. We do want China to prosper. Okay, a bigger Chinese economy is good, not just for the Chinese people. It's good for the goddamn planet. We just hope that China manages to do that maybe one day without the CCP. But China growing and becoming more powerful, it's not a bad thing. We just wish CCP wasn't involved. Okay, next.
And AGA is saying, I worry that the athletes of these countries will suffer while in China.
No, it's not about. It's while in China. Okay, so I thought you were saying something that you're not. Some people are saying like, but the athletes want to go and they want to participate. Like, some people are assuming that the United States is not sending the athletes, but they are sending the athletes, right? So AJ is saying, I wonder if they would be suffer. You're right. That is a concern, because I would think like, no, a government wouldn't be childish and stupid enough to punish it. Like, that would be such a bad PR for them that they mistreat the athletes because of their politician. But then I remembered it's actually CCP, so they get butthurt and they do stupid things.
Well, it'd be interesting if it's just the athletes attending and just like not saying anything. I would be shocked if something happened to them simply because of their nationality. But if they're doing interviews while in Beijing and being very vocal about specific human rights abuses, that could get dicey. Like, they should, in theory, be protected by the fact that they're not a citizen and that they're there under international auspices, right? But like, I saw some people who cover China issues like openly encouraging athletes to talk about these issues while being interviewed for the Olympics. I was like, that's an extremely risky thing to be telling people to do. Like, I feel like you have no right to be encouraging people to be taking that risk. And Asian American is saying Wu Mao means 50 cents. Oh, that's right, because the Wu Mao are the 50-cent army, like, because they're paid for just dogging people who criticize China online. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for reminding me. And he also clarified that when he was referring to two genocidal countries holding each other accountable until there's no more genocide left, he was saying, I'm referring to blood quantum and mass incarceration in private prisons in America. I will concede that it's far more piecemeal than the targeted approach of the CCP.
No, you are giving examples of 1980. Yeah, look at this one. The U.S. lost its mind when Black Panther Party members protested the Star Spangled Banner in 1968. What does this got to do with Biden's administration? Like,
well, I mean, that did happen.
Yeah, it did happen.
I mean, that's also partially because the Olympic policies itself, it's not just the United States. The Olympic policies itself prohibit those kinds of displays. Although that event has a very interesting history, which informs a lot of sports politics today. So it's interesting to think about.
Liberal Bengali Hindu, that's a very interesting point, but we're not going to highlight it for obvious reasons.
Okay. Wait, now I have to see what this is.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. We got this one. And all right, cool. We got this. Let me just go here and then unhighlight the comment while I get the next story. Thank you for picking up where I got disconnected.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I gotta carry it now.
All right. Let me see. What's the next news? Can we clap for the next news? Oh, yes. This is funny. Oh my God. This is funny. So pathetic. All right. Next news.
Pope Francis speaks out against war on Christmas. Pope Francis, in an interview given on a recent flight from Greece, called a leaked internal document from the European Commission that advised staffers on the use of inclusive language, quote, anachronistic. The document in question, advised the commission staffers to, quote, avoid assuming that everyone is Christian. The Italian tabloid Il Giornale leaked the document in an article and accused the European Commission of, quote, canceling Christmas and, quote, attacking common sense. The document also received support for its efforts to make sure that everyone is valued and recognized regardless of their gender, racial or ethnic origin, religion, disability, age, or sexual orientation, which also received a fair amount of backlash. According to the Pope, this document is a, quote, watered down approach to Christianity, adding that throughout history, many dictatorships have tried to do it. He warned not to open a way for ideological colonization. He said, quote, this will make the European Union fail, he cautioned.
The Catholic Church is telling that the European Union will fail. Amazing.
Commission. The European Commission.
So I want to thank the Pope for telling the world that making sure that everybody is valued is an attack on Christianity. It's an attack on Christmas. I mean, isn't that what he's saying? Like the leaked document, they're saying like, hey, do not assume everyone's religion and make sure that everybody feels included and valued, no matter who they are. Make sure that people feel appreciated and part of society, whatever the religion or ethnicity or sexual orientation or gender identity is, make them feel valued. That is an attack on Christianity. I agree with the Pope. I agree with the Pope that making sure people are valued is an attack on Christianity. Yeah, completely endorse this message.
It's so funny to me because so this is a document that the European Commission issued to its own staff, right? So this is an intern or I think it was maybe a draft or something that was maybe going to be proposed, right? But this was supposed to be for its own employees. This isn't like for the people of Europe, right? This is for their own organization. And so it suggested that members of the commission avoid using the word Christmas. Instead, they should favor holidays. It also advised against using names that are typically from one religion, substituting Maria and John with Malika and Julio when referring to a hypothetical couple. And then it also provided guidelines on how to address gender and sexual orientation, drawing criticisms from everyone from Vatican representatives, far-right politicians, and then also the Pope. And the European Commission apologized and retracted this document.
No.
Yeah, they're like, it's a work in progress, and then they're going to publish an updated version.
The updated version better say, fuck the Pope. And Merry Christmas. How pathetically weak and fragile your entire institution must be for you to feel attacked for people saying happy holidays. And I remind you that nobody is stopping anybody for saying Merry Christmas. No, you could say Merry Christmas. You feel attacked because some people are saying happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas while you still get to say Merry Christmas? Like, how are you being attacked? Why are you so weak? Why are you so pathetic? I mean, this is good. Actually, this is good. These people used to burn us alive, and now they feel attacked because we're saying happy holidays. This is progress.
This is progress. Oh my God. No, okay. Good. I thought it was funny because I work with my team to do the titles for these articles. And so technically the Pope didn't talk about what in America is called the war on Christmas. But I felt like this is basically like the European equivalent of having that conversation because it's just like the war on Christmas is about the use of inclusive language. Like in America, it's always been that way. Like having Starbucks put happy holidays on their cups instead of having it be all about Christmas specifically is suddenly like an attack on Christians. And so I thought it was really funny to kind of see this happen in a different context. And now the Pope is even talking about it. And the level of self-awareness to call this ideological colonization is hilarious to me. It's like you're
Oh my God,
you're
right.
telling me about ideological colonization? And there were all these other spokespeople from the Vatican talking about how this is denying the true Christian roots of Europe and all this stuff. Like,
The fact that the word colonization is coming out of the mouths of Pope, like, again, the level of self-awareness, like, are you like, do you know who you are? Do you know what you represent? Do you know what your institution is responsible for? Like, are you serious? Like, how could you, like, if I was the Pope, I would never use those words unless I was apologizing for something. Like, what the hell are you like, how could you not see this is going to be a backlash? You're going to complain about people colonizing you for saying happy holidays, where you literally you led the way in main countries colonizing. You were responsible for the worst acts of colonization, your institution that you endorsed. Again, this would be different. Like, people like Armin, well, they're not the same people. Well, if they had condemned it, if they were like, oh, we're different now, you say every goddamn pope is infallible. That's your doctrine. So you are endorsing the other things that the other popes have done. So even if they were other people, you haven't apologized for it. Your institution is responsible, the most responsible institution in the whole world for colonizing white people by killing them. And now you're telling people that we're being colonized for saying happy. Like, I can't believe the level of hypocrisy. Like, you can't, it's impossible. It should be physically impossible. This breaks the laws of math and physics in the universe for somebody to be able to this hypocritical, and this is like like, we need scientists, we need modern physics to come and figure out how this is possible. Oh, and also another thing I want to, like, tell, I'm going to use this opportunity to tell every single atheist that said this pope is different, this pope is good, we're modernizing, the reform is coming. Like, every single one of you, like, I told you so. Okay, I told you so. You were stupid, you were idiots for you to have any hope in any pope or any religion for that matter. Okay, do not invest in reforming religions. Okay, you have the move has to always be in removing religion from our lives, in eliminating religion from our lives. There's no hope in reforming Christianity, there's no hope in reforming Islam. There's only hope in getting rid of religion, and every single one of them, all of them. Okay, there's no like, oh, maybe Islam first. No, every single religion. Okay, they're all holding us back from progress. And this is another example. This was supposed to be the progressive pope. Anyways.
Damn, well, it's always good to get that in there.
Yeah. Hope in a pope. Yeah. Is that like a religious hop on? No, that's like a Dr. Seuss novel, something.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, read some comments while I get the next news.
A Asian American is saying the Chinese are inventing a new god named Santa Guan. Combining Santa Claus with Guan Yu, god of war, exams, brotherhood, and oaths. Whoa! So does does Santa Guan, does he bring good grades? Does he help you ace your tests? Like, he just makes you like a demigod of taking exams? Like, is that what Santa Guan brings to you?
Interesting.
Having the god of war also be the god of exams is very interesting to me.
It's fitting.
Yeah.
It's fitting. As somebody who has experienced war and also exams, I can tell you to this day, I have nightmares about exams. I don't have nightmares about war. So
I remember Saddam bombing us, but I don't have nightmares about that.
yeah, no, I'm okay. This was a joke. I'm not dismissing the
Yeah.
experience of war. Okay, okay.
Oh
Should
my God.
we?
He's saying you only get presents if you get good grades. Are you joking,
Oh,
or
wow.
is this actually how Santa Guan works? I need answers.
We need to look into this. That's very interesting.
Oh my God. If there are
Okay.
any videos on that, please send it to me.
Yeah. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes, I think this is a good thing.
Next news.
Next news. Lawsuit filed against Facebook for role in a Rohingya Muslim genocide. So this was very interesting to me. On December 6th, a class action lawsuit was filed against Facebook, now rebranded as Meta, by Rohingya ethnic cleansing survivors. The cases, first filed in the United States and then in the United Kingdom, alleged Facebook's platform allowed and intensified hate speech against the Rohingya people in Myanmar. The survivors are demanding compensatory damages totaling over 150 billion euros, in addition to punitive damages. James Clayton of the North America Tech Report at BBC said that the lawsuits are particularly interesting because, quote, Facebook isn't denying that it could have done more. An internal investigation conducted by Facebook in 2018 revealed that the company failed to prevent the circulation of hate speech and incitement of violence against the Rohingya. In September 2021, an American judge ordered Facebook to release archived posts that portrayed Rohingyas as, in quote, subhuman terms, and posts that called for military action. Yet, Facebook resisted releasing these documents. According to Professor Josh Davis at the University of San Francisco School of Law, he says that it's hard to prove that Facebook's conduct harmed individual class members.
Okay, I don't understand this. Okay, so I'm just claiming ignorance. So if I say something that comes as insensitive or seems like I don't have concern for people who were hurt, I'm just like, it's because I'm actually ignorant. I don't know. Okay, but I mean, Facebook isn't a publisher, right? So like, it's not like you can, like, would you be able, like, if like crimes against humanity was conducted over phone calls, you wouldn't be able to sue the phone company, like you wouldn't be able to do that. So I don't understand, like, are we gonna, if we're gonna hold Facebook responsible for the content that is on their platform and they could be sued for this, they're gonna go nuclear on everything that could be potentially harmful. Like, they're gonna not, like, they like, everything will be open to everything. Like, I mean, it's not like they have the resources to investigate, look at every single comment and figure out what's problematic and what's not problematic. And if they could be sued for it, and they don't have the resources to have to go through every single comment and post, they're just going to go nuclear and just remove everything that could be remotely controversial. I mean, I don't know,
Well,
like, if, yeah.
So, this is very good. This is a very important subject because this is the basis of some law in the United States. And so here's an excerpt from article in CNN explaining this issue. So, quote, the legal argument in the United States case may also be tricky. It alleges that Facebook should face product liability and negligence claims for failing to address defects in its platform, which plaintiffs claim contributed to the anti-Rohingya violence, court documents show. In the US, Facebook would typically be protected from such liability by Section 230 of the Decency Act, Decency Act. But the suit asks the court to instead apply Burmese law, which it says does not provide such protections. Davis, this professor who's giving his analysis of this case, said
But
American courts are typically reluctant to take on such cases. He added that proving Facebook's action has caused harm to the Rohingya people could be difficult.
I mean, but
So-
Facebook is an American company. How could you sue them within other countries' laws? Like, you could either, and also,
perhaps,
Yeah.
I'm no lawyer, perhaps it's a jurisdictional argument where they're saying that Facebook is an American company, but these crimes happened in this other country. So they're
So the only
attempting
way-
to have.
but but you can't. The only other way would be to use International Criminal Court, which United States is not a signatory to. So there's no other way. You have to, unless you have.
This case does have major obstacles, of course.
This is why countries like India, or they would want you to have, if you want to be like, for example, operating in India, they were like, you have to have Facebook India or Twitter India, so that we could go after. It can't just be an American company that is out of our reach. If you want to have, you need to have offices here, and you need to have stakes here that we could go after if we don't like what you're doing. This is, but bigger country get to do that. I think that's the. Yeah,
I can lay out some other issues. So, the American suit, which was the first to be filed, because again, there was the suit filed in the United States, which represents survivors living in the United States. And then there was a suit filed in the UK, and that represents survivors in every other part of the world except the United States. So the US suit would have to clear numerous hurdles just to make it to summary judgment or trial, let alone secure a favorable ruling. For a suit to be certified as a class action by a judge, plaintiffs involved must have experienced predominantly common issues. But given the nature of the crisis in Myanmar, the experiences of potential class members could vary widely. And, quote, it's hard to imagine proof that would be common to the class that would establish Facebook's conduct harmed individual class members. And like I said, that they're trying to argue this on the basis of liability and negligence in terms of delivering a product. But we do still have to clear that issue of the Section 230, which does protect publishers.
Yeah, I just don't know if people understand what the consequences of these could be to everybody else, right? And also, I don't think people understand the resources that it would take to, like, we ourselves are victims of bad judgment by social media, by Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, taking us down without actually any human involvement into looking at what is being taken down, right? Or like, we lost, me and Susanna have lost our Twitter accounts, like, with so
I mean, this isn't even remotely comparable.
No, what I'm saying is that we don't complain about. No, you're missing my point. My point is that people want to hold Facebook accountable, but if you look at Facebook's interests, they would want to be able to, if you think game theory wise, right? If they could have done something, if they had the resources, if it made sense to, like, what do you think Facebook benefits from being responsible for, I don't know, genocide? Obviously, they would, even they're completely for profit, but profit, every single motivation that they have is profit driven, as people in the live chat are constantly pointing out. Yeah, no crap. Obviously, it's a for-profit company, but it would be in their interest for them not to get accused of stuff like this. But I don't know if people understand how difficult it is. Like, the reason why I was bringing our social media taken down is, like, what I'm saying is that even when our social media is taken down, we're not under this illusion that they would be able, like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter just has the manpower, given that the amount of content that that is being produced every single second on this platform. They would need like an army of like 2 planets to be able to manage this. That's why they need AI, right? They can't, there's no there's not enough humans on this planet for them to be able to monitor all of this, right? That's why we don't get angry. We get upset, but we don't really get angry that much, because we understand that that's a ridiculous expectation to have. So what I'm just saying is that I don't know if people understand what they're asking for, because what they're asking for might not be something that these platforms could provide. And if you force their hand into by making it suitable for what other people put on their platform, then they will have to do the nuclear option and just ban everything that could potentially be controversial. That's all. The other
But
have
that's
to
not what they're asking for. They're asking for damages.
No, okay, but no, Susanna, listen what will happen. If they get damages, then Facebook will have to prevent damages like this for happening again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's
Like,
complicated by
if
the
you
fact
open-
that it's not simply that, oh, they need a second planet to actually properly moderate their website. It's that the company has admitted itself in numerous internal documentations as well as public reports that they
Yes.
knew it was bad, that they didn't intervene when they knew it was as bad as it was, that they could have done more, and that they failed to prevent the problem. This is blatant negligence.
Yeah, so I don't know maybe the details, but I'm just asking if they can remove, like, obviously this is not the outcome that Facebook prefers, right? I just think it's more complicated than people assume. But yeah, it's more complicated than I'm assuming as well. Like, obviously, like, I don't know all the details. I'm pretty sure a company as big as Facebook is going to fuck up often, right?
Yes.
Given the, I mean, how could they not? It's just so many operations happening at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So many things happening at the same time. Just by the law of large numbers, fuck ups are going to happen, right? And also, yeah, go on.
No, I mean, I do understand what you mean by talking about the larger issues of the consequences of opening yourself up to legal liability when faced with being a publisher and managing content. I get what you're saying. Like, there is a larger consequential argument to have. I just feel like it's detracting from the issue at hand. Like, having that conversation right now.
Well, it's not detracting, because if you want a solution to this, you have to know what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not detracting. Like, I'm not dismissing the. That's why I said I wanted to be careful, because it seems like I'm being insensitive and dismissal of these people suffering, but I'm not, because if you want a solution, you can't like go looking for things that are not possible. I mean, read Rebecca's comments here, for example.
Rebecca is saying, Atheist Republic, I worked for AOL. Content management is really hard on an open platform. AOL had the terms of service and allowed them to yank idiots and security people right off the service. Well, AOL actually had to have a congressional hearing about the issues that they had with their content about things that I can't even talk about on YouTube because it was so bad. So yeah, it's very complex. Secular Rarity is saying, I see what Armin is saying, but I don't think it will have the bad effects he thinks. I think it will cause Facebook to be more careful when moving into territory and they don't have the translators to support that kind of a project. I don't think we can actually speculate about what kind of effect it will have. And I actually think that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse, because these two suits in the US and the UK have a long ways to go before if they can actually reach a trial, right? So there are consequences, but there is actually many obstacles that have to be cleared before it can even come to court and these issues be addressed, right? So there's so much that could change about these two lawsuits.
Yeah. Anyways, soon there will be alternative. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about that.
The need to talk about decentralized social media and the blockchain is rising within. I love it, though. That totally is what's going to happen.
No, yeah, but okay, here's another problem I have. Okay, if the solution to these would be these, for us to get these centralized platforms with like management and stuff, to like, if that's the solution we're going to, instead of finding another way, then we're going to be ill-equipped for a future where everything is on the goddamn blockchain and nothing is removable, right? So I'm
It's a
just saying,
huge
like,
problem.
right? So at that point, like, I'm thinking like now we should practice finding a solution that would also be able to, that we also would be able to apply to a tomorrow that may come in 20 or 50 years, that nothing is removable from Web 3.0, right? So you investing so much legal resources on this, and then all of a sudden it goes nowhere. You know, you're now completely, your weapons that you have invested in are now useless because we're dealing with a new reality. So just like think long term. Okay.
Oh, Secular Rarity is saying, yes, Susanna, I think you both talked about this really well. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That's very kind.
Okay. So can we clap for the next news?
Yes.
Next news. Wow.
Next news. Pope Francis calls premarital sex not the most serious sin. So just to clarify for everyone, in case you forgot, we're clapping for sex. Armin, please clap for sex. Okay, let's get into the story.
Insulting. This is
Pope Francis recently told reporters that, quote, sins of the flesh are not the most serious. Sins of the flesh are not the most serious, the Pope explained, referring to sexual relationships outside of marriage. Instead, he said that pride and hatred are the most serious of sins. The Pope's comments were made while being questioned about the resignation of Archbishop Michel Apiet. I don't know how to speak French. The disgraced bishop of Paris, France. Archbishop Apetit had resigned in early December after admitting to an ambiguous relationship with a woman in 2012, a relationship that many viewed as inappropriate or even a breach of his vows of celibacy. He told reporters that he accepted Apetit's resignation not because of the sin, but because of the, quote, damaging rumors. According to him, Apetit was unfit to govern due to the rumors and how the public opinion surrounding him had become toxic. The Pope also expounded upon his responses, saying, quote, it was a failure against the sixth commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery, but not a total one.
When I have sex outside of marriage, I want it to be a serious sin.
That's why you're offended. I thought you were offended because it's being called a sin altogether. You're like, no, give it to me.
Either it should either not be a sin, or if it's a sin, you better go all like, it better be a serious one. Like, this is like the most effective triggering that the church has done to me. It's like, you're sinning, but meh. I guess you're sinning. Like, I want them to be like, oh my, like, I want them offended. Like, they're offending me by not being offended by my lifestyle, right? I'm triggered.
I want you to look at the way I live my life and get upset. Secular Rarity is saying, I mean, without the sin, is the sex part even worth it?
Exactly. You want to be doing something taboo. Yeah.
You know what I thought was funny about this was that Daniel Hakikaju, the Muslim fundamentalist, for those who are not familiar, he made this huge post about how this proves like the deviancy of Christianity and the corruption of Christianity, and like naturally what follows is the perfection of Islam.
Of course. You know, there's some obvious jokes here, but they're so obvious. I don't want to, like, should we even mention that maybe it's not a major sin because popes constantly have sex with underage people
Well, it's
without
not
being married.
sex.
Yes, it's. I mean, they see it as sex, I guess.
Yeah.
It is sex. It's forced sex. Forced like just forced sex is
Yeah.
sex. That doesn't. You're not endorsing it by calling it sex. We have to say forced sex because YouTube doesn't like the R word.
Yeah.
So that yeah, that's why we're not saying it. But yeah, maybe it's because like yeah, we're like all these priests, they're also committing sins, but everybody's sinner. Some people steal candy, some people lie to their mom, and some people abuse children. you know
Oh my
we're
god.
all just
Wait, I was reviewing Daniel Hikikuju's post on this news. He's saying, well, in part, Christianity is in large part to blame for the state of sexual degeneracy in the world today. If Christianity had been a more compelling religion, it would not have birthed secularism. And if Christianity had been more capable of keeping Christians committed to sexual mores, rampant fornication, adultery, and other sexual crimes would have not spread throughout Christendom. Damning words.
I mean, technically he is right. Christianity is a weaker religion compared to Islam, and that's why it was easier to defeat it. I mean, we're not endorsing Christianity. We're just saying it was like less. It's an
What do you mean
enemy.
easier to defeat? It's the biggest religion in the world. It's the most popular. It won the popularity contest.
Well, I mean, it had the first. It came before Islam, so it was ahead. It had the Kutoya hunt. I mean,
They got a head start.
they got a head start. No, but I mean, like they are not as aggressively as political as Islam, so that's why it doesn't. It's not as a more as powerful of a tool of domination as Islam is, right? And that's a good thing because Christianity is.
Yeah, we don't want it to be.
We don't want it. I mean, we want like Christianity is very destructive and harmful. So if it's weaker, it's a good thing. So we could like get rid of it faster, right? Islam is a more powerful force to reckon with, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Right?
it's interesting because secularity and AGA are talking about like I thought in the Christian doctrine it says all sins are equal in the eyes of God. So it's very contradictory, and maybe someone who was like a Catholic apologist could actually delineate this more clearly because theoretically, yes, this is in our belief system that all sins are equal, but at the same time in Catholic doctrine in the catechism there is doctrine about how one of the worst sins that you can commit is blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. Like that's one of the few sins that's actually unforgivable. Or there are sins that immediately excommunicate you. And neither of those sins are, what did he say? Pope Francis said that pride and hatred are the most serious of sins. That's ridiculous to me. In Catholic practice, it's like abortion, it's murder. Like I don't know where, like that kind of triggered me when he said that. I'm like, where are you getting this from? There are other things that Catholics believe are much more grave than just pride and hatred.
I mean,
It
technically,
goes
it
funny
shouldn't
as saying,
matter. I mean, if you read the Book of Revelations and a whole bunch of other places, it just says like we're all. If you accept Jesus, you're gonna go to heaven. If you don't, you're gonna go to hell. Like I don't understand. Like where do sins come into play? Then, like it doesn't really matter how much sins I have committed. I just have to accept Jesus, and that's all good. I don't like
Jeebus.
like it's so contradictory, and then people give me
Yeah.
verses that actually shows like no, actually your sins do matter. Look at these verses, and I'm like, well, they don't matter according to these verses. But yeah, go on. That's funny.
Well, that's why I was saying like maybe someone who was actually into Catholic apologetics could like put forward an argument where this actually makes any sort of sense because I'm not familiar with enough, even though I was raised as a Catholic my whole life, to be able to like explain that clearly because honestly at this point I have a better understanding of Islam than I do Christianity. But goes funny as saying, why do I feel like the Pope is just making up reasons to excuse the priests who attack children and letting them know that they will still make it to heaven? Um,
That's what I
I
was
see
saying.
I see how it could be interpreted this way. I definitely see how it could be interpreted this way, but the relationship that he's actually talking about with this disgraced bishop was between like two fully consenting adults.
Yeah, but like what Ghostbunny is saying, and the
It could be
obvious,
used that way. Yeah.
yeah, like maybe like the Pope is like, maybe we shouldn't be so judgmental on people's having sex, given that we're having the worst kind of it. You know, like our people are having the worst kind, the non-consensual kind,
Uh-oh.
with people underage. Anyways, last one. Read this one before we go.
Wait, could you read it? Because I need to go to the bathroom.
Okay. Gasian American is saying, didn't God smite someone for coming on the floor? And yes, he did. So you would assume that that is a worse of a crime than all the other crimes that somebody didn't get smitten for. Another example is when okay. So here's the thing. Imagine these two actions. Which one? Some people show up at your door, okay, and they want to have sex without consent. Again, I'm not using the R word because YouTube be sensitive. With your guests, with your male guests, right? Who happen to be angels, but you don't know. Do you know at that point? I don't know. And then you're like, hey, no, these are my guests. How about my daughters instead? Like you're offering your daughters to a mob outside of the door to have sex with without their consent so that your guests are safe. As a father, how good of a father are you? Is that a sin? Apparently, I don't know. Maybe it is a sin. Maybe God, I mean, this is what Prophet Lot did. And the Bible said somewhere else later that he's a good man. Okay. And then at the same time, Lot's wife looked back, right? So Lot did not get any punishment for offering his daughters to a mob for sex. And Lot's daughters didn't get any punishment for having sex with their own father while he's drunk, like on purpose making him drunk and then having sex with him so that they could get impregnated by their own father. The daughters didn't get any punishment. The father didn't get any punishment for offering the daughters for sex. The mother gets turned into a pillar of salt for looking back. Okay, it just shows where the priorities are, right? Like the least innocent person in this family, compared to what the daughters do and what the father do, the mother seems to be the most innocent one, and yet she gets the punishment. Doesn't make any sense. Anyways.
Let's get started on the next news.
Okay. Can we clap for the next news?
No.
Okay, wait. Can we highlight? Okay. Next news.
Rising violence. Indian priest chased with machete. Christian books set on fire. On December 11th, an unidentified man armed with a machete barged into a church in Karnataka's Belagavi city and chased the priest in charge. CCTV footage shows that the man with the weapon was following Father Francis D'Souza. The perpetrator eventually fled the scene, unable to get close enough to the father. On the same day, members of the Christian community in Srinivaspur town of Kolar district were reportedly going door to door to distribute some religious texts, described by some news agencies as Christmas cards, when members of a right-wing Hindu groups protested and set the text ablaze. These incidents came a day before the state assembly meets for the winter session in Belagavi. A controversial anti-conversion bill is tabled to be discussed this section, with a likelihood of it being passed. Karnataka Chief Minister Basarajav Bomai stated that the government will not let churches misuse someone's poverty to lure them into converting to Christianity. So I wanted to talk about this news because there were these big incidents that happened, and it's happening within the larger context of an anti-conversion bill being brought forth in this state. So this is another instance of the rising anti-Christian violence that's happening. It's been particularly emphasized in Karnataka recently. We talked about these issues last week, and it's like accelerating.
This is insane. Imagine if they did this to Hindu communities in other countries. Like if they were having celebrating Diwali, or they were in the streets passing out like something, congratulating people. Like if you were exposed, like imagine these people's outrage, like India's outrage towards like Hindus being treated badly because other people were like, being exposed to, I don't
And
know,
rightly
Hindus.
so.
Yeah, I mean, they should be outraged. I mean, like yoga classes, like for example, like imagine like you like people like, oh my god, this yoga classes are like is an attack on Christianity, which happens, right? Like you would think like that's ridiculous. That is the same thing that is happening here. I mean, it's not necessarily the same thing
No,
because
what
they
I
are.
think of is more equivalent is the recent violence that happened in Bangladesh during Durga
Oh
Puja
yeah,
in November. That was brutal. And that didn't even involve any Hindus like trying to
that was like a
spread their
plan,
Hinduism, for lack of a better term. That was because someone
right?
framed and spread fake news about the community that they were blaspheming Islam. And there
Right.
was extreme violence, and there was huge outrage because of it, rightfully so.
And let's see what people have to say. Here.
Megumim is saying, and it's happening in Karnataka, the home state of my grandmother. What else could be more embarrassing for me? Well, I mean, this doesn't
Why
have
would
to
you?
do with you personally. This is nothing about you. I mean, you might
Why
have a
would you be
particular
embarrassed about
affinity for the
something you
group, but
didn't do?
yeah.
Like this is collectivism. You're not responsible for this. Just because you happen to be from there doesn't make you. Yeah, this is guilt by association. If you don't consider anybody guilty by association or collectively blame them for, then you shouldn't do that to yourself as well. Just because you are the target doesn't make it okay. You can't be like, oh, I do this, so I won't do this to other people, but I do it to myself. No, if you do it to yourself, that's also wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And Katie is saying we might soon start having Bajrang Dal. For those who don't know, Bajrang Dal is a right-wing Hindu gang responsible for a lot of vigilante attacks. We might soon start having Bajrang Dal and some other groups threatening liberal Hindus so they don't visit churches on Christmas. I would. That's not even surprising to me. Yeah, that sounds like on track. You know what's so interesting to me is that so apparently in terms of like the burning of these texts, um you know, anyone who's had missionaries come to your door knows how freaking annoying it is. Like, it's annoying, let's be honest. It's really annoying to be preached to when you're not asking for it, when you're not seeking it out. Instead, they come into your place and just put it in your face. And But the idea of like stealing these people's property and then burning in the street, especially when some agencies like said that these were Christmas cards. Like there was a police report that specifically said no, there was no Bible that was burned, there was no holy text that was burned, but people were reporting that it was like Christmas cards. I was like, God damn, this is how you guys react to Christmas cards.
Wait, if you keep going this way, they're gonna say no to Valentine's Day and Halloween as well, saying these are
Armin,
like
they already do. Are you not
in
familiar
India.
with how Bajrang Dal reacts to Valentine's Day?
Oh my,
Bajrang Dal
okay.
is known to assault couples in the street
Where
trying
we're
to
talking
celebrate
India, not
Valentine's Day.
Pakistan. In
Yes,
India.
this is
Oh.
well documented. For years, Bajrang Dal has been doing this.
What about Halloween? Are they gonna go after? Because it would be amazing if we get to a point where Saudi Arabia now has Halloween. Because I don't know if people realize this. Saudi Arabia recently had their first Halloween. I imagine if India moves to a place where like they're attacking Halloweens and Saudi Arabia has Halloween, like that's
Do
how.
people celebrate Halloween in India? Please let us know.
Of course they do. It's a
I don't
billion.
know.
There's a billion people there. How could they not be like a lot of them? Yeah. Okay. Let's go to this one.
Well, and then the assault on this priest is really bad as well. I think it's interesting because based on the reports that I was reading, like no one has been identified or arrested in either of these two incidences of violence. And I think it's really important to talk about that these are happening. And last week we were talking about assaults on churches and the police saying that they're not going to protect communities in the days that they told communities to not meet to pray, basically to protect themselves because the police weren't going to do it for them, in preceding this bill being tabled at the Winter Assembly. And then the Winter Assembly comes, these two attacks happen. And well, I want to get into some of the language about this anti-conversion bill in a little while, but Ghost Bunny is saying, why do I get the feeling that India is just getting more and more violent? You know, well, Armin, you go ahead.
Yeah, well, maybe because it's true. I mean, okay, relative to when though? Because if
that's
you go
a very
back to
important point. Relative to when?
Yeah, if you go back to the partition, then it's not violent at all, right? Comparatively, yeah. But no,
yes, I think
recent, yeah.
It because just statistically, we do see increases in the number of reports and attacks happening, particularly since 2014 is when you start to see spikes of it, which is when Modi came to power. Now, you know, the best, I don't want to call it a steel man because it's not a steel man, but one thing to consider as someone who, you know, just anyone who's involved with research or any familiarity, one thing you have to consider is there better reporting that's happening? Is there more frequent reporting? Are we hearing about these things more as more people get access to smartphones and this catches more attention and therefore it's logged? But I think I think it's both.
Because anti-Abrahamic mindset is growing, the BJP is using it more and more. So I'm assuming it's not just more reporting. I'm assuming it's also more incidences, right? This is the very powerful tactic that the BJP is using, right? So it is happening more. And, you know, okay, as much as Pakistan and India are very different, and India is still way, 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 way ahead of Pakistan, more secular, more free, all of that. But it's so sad to see that India is moving closer to being like Pakistan every single day. Like, this is the Pakistanization of India, okay? And these people, they hate Pakistan the most, but they are the main people responsible for making their country more like Pakistan. So congratulations, you're becoming what you hate.
Katie is saying Halloween isn't that popular in India. Ha!
So it means it is happening. So that means it happened. Okay, only some of the youth. So I was right. It's not that popular. That means it's happening. So, yes.
I love how we're both like, ha!
That's right. I was the right one.
Oh, talking about Halloween. Some people in the cities, most others in towns and villages don't even know its existence. Yes, and Katie is saying they already oppose Valentine's Day. They assault couples and even forced couples to marry. Yeah, no, this has been going on for a long time.
You don't need to even say Armin is right, because you could just always assume that. No, but go on.
You're the worst. Megamum is saying Armin is right. We usually hear news of anti-Muslim violence, but anti-Christian violence usually never makes it to the news. It seems to be getting out of hand now. Especially, a lot of it is in Karnataka, and it is because of the fever pitch that then the heightened sensitivity that's being brought forward because of all of this political action on this anti-conversion bill.
This is what the state of things are, that we have an atheist channel right now, like, that is bringing attention to attacks on Christians, the atheist channel that brings attention to attacks on Muslims, we're the atheist channel that brings attention to attacks on Hindus and Jews and atheists and ex-Muslims as well. Okay, so this is what you get where you're at Atheist Republic. Okay, this is the least tribal channel on the goddamn planet, where we are like going out of our way. We're supposed to be an organization that defends atheists, but we're going out of our way in bringing attention to the harm done on all of these other groups as well. So yeah, go on.
You know what's
one more thing, and then you always get that one comment Like when we're like, oh, Muslims are being attacked, and there's a Christian in the comment section, but you never talk about the Christians are being attacked. Like, are you have you like, are you new here? Like, have you like just watched one video of us? Like, what about the Christians? We talk about the Christians. And like the Hindus, like, you're biased. You only talk about attacks on Muslims. Are you serious? Like every time we see attacks on Hindus, especially in Bangladesh, we bring it up here. If it shows up on our radar, we talk about it. Like, God, like, anyways, go on. Sorry.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about this anti-conversion bill because it's very interesting the way that these politicians talk about it, because a lot of times it's supposedly supposed to be against forced conversion, right? But the way that they talk about it, I feel like they've stopped taking off the forced part, and it's just become just against conversion. Because listen, here's a quote from the chief minister. On Sunday, Bomai hinted that the draft of the anti-conversion bill would be approved by the state cabinet and that it would be introduced in the Belagavi winter session, which begins on Monday. Quote, a majority of people want a ban on religious conversion. A ban on religious conversion. The law department is reviewing a draft bill. After the review, it will be cleared in the cabinet meeting. And in all probability, the draft rule proposed by the law department would be approved, and the subject may come up for discussion in the assembly session. Claiming that religious conversion was not good for the society, the chief minister said that the downtrodden people should not succumb to it. Bomai, however, clarified that people of all religious communities need to not panic with respect to the anti-conversion bill, and saying that, there's no problem with people praying or following their respective religions. However, there is no scope for misusing someone's poverty to lure them to change faith. So I thought it was so interesting how they're just saying, quote, a majority of people want a ban on religious conversion.
How could you do that? Like, what? Like, okay, the whole point of Christianity is to evangelize as a missionary. Like, I don't understand. Like, you want them to, like, okay, so would this involve also, we have a lot of Hindus who are saying that Pakistanis and Indian Muslims are supposed to be Hindus, right? They're inherently Hindus. Like, this is not like the fact that they're Muslim goes against they don't know that they're like, they have to come back to Hinduism, right? So would that kind of talk be illegal as well? Like if a Hindu comes and says like,
no,
hey,
of course not. There was actually recently the RSS chief. For those who don't know, RSS is militant right-wing group, very powerful in India.
They killed Gandhi, but yet they elected somebody from RSS to lead the country. Oh, go on.
Yeah. He was basically talking about how Hindus need to ensure, Katie, correct me on the way I say this, but like Gar Wapsi. So literally doing the exact same thing, saying, but they call it basically like return home. So it's so it's okay when they're coming home, but otherwise it's forced conversion.
So if Muslims become Hindu, that's okay because they're not converting; they're just coming back to what they already are. Right? Like, so this is like, you get away from the conversion laws because this is not conversion. You just realize, well, Muslims can also say that because Muslims claim, atheists can also say that because Muslims say that everybody is born a Muslim. So that's why they don't say that we convert people to Islam. They say it's revert to Islam because everybody is Muslim. Hindus are saying that about Pakistanis or people or everybody around that area. They're like, you're naturally Hindu, so that's not conversion. Everybody's going to say that that's not conversion. We say that as well. Atheists say that everybody's born atheist, so it's not converting to atheism. It's like, what do we say? Deconvert. We say, oh yeah, so Muslims say revert, atheists say deconvert, and Hindus say coming back home. Nobody's like, only Christians could say that we're actually converting people to Christianity. Yeah. But other people don't even claim that they're converting.
Here's the final thing I wanted to say. This quote: a fact-finding report by several civil society organizations earlier this month claimed that Karnataka was witnessing one of the highest incidents of attacks against Christians due to the government's attitude. So like there are multiple of other people reflecting that this isn't like happening in isolation, that this is a reflection of the politics of the area. And I saw one local politician saying the dumbest shit ever. He was like, oh, they say they're against forced conversion, but when we bring forward these bills, they oppose the anti-conversion bills. What's up with that? Like basically inferring that they're telling on themselves. It's like, no, you dumbass. It's because you demonize them with these bills. It's not because they don't oppose forcing someone to convert. It's because you are abusing them under the guise of this, like, trying to legitimize these bills. It's, oh my God, that pissed me off.
You know, like, is India becoming so much less secular when you can't, like, you're actually telling people that they can't preach their ideas to other people? Like, that would what this law means, right? Like, would that make it like so you can't talk to people and tell them like, hey, this is a good idea, consider it? Like, you can't do that. Like, how is this a secular? Like, it's like, I mean, it's still more secular than Pakistan, I guess, but it's becoming less secular. Like, people's speech are being controlled based on the religion that they have and based on what they're saying. Like, what is forced conversion? Like, is this a conversion bill or a forced conversion bill? Like, if I go invite somebody to Christianity without forcing them, would this bill stop that? Like, can somebody go and say, but like, I'm not forcing you, but hey, here, read a Bible. Would this bill, would this bill
the way
be
that
against
this
that
is
or not?
enforced, it's so ambiguous. Like, I haven't actually looked at the language of the bill itself, but based on the way that these incidents are happening and the ways that it's talking about, it's very ambiguous. And like, look at the story we talked about earlier today with Mother Teresa, her charity founded by her. Like,
yeah, just being exposed to the Bible is apparently forced conversion. Just like, there's a Bible on this desk in front of you. Forced conversion. God damn it. Read this one.
Katie is saying, hilarious fact, there's a niche group of Hindu who believe the entire world used to be Hindu before other fake religions corrupted others. Wow.
There's a meme on this. There's like, Hinduism is like old, or Hinduism predates India, or Hindu, like they go, like, if you're like, they say like, if you're like, your brain is like opening of working on 90% capacity, you say like Hinduism is the oldest religion, and then you go further and like Hinduism is older than humanity, predates humanity.
Whoa.
Okay, but then they're like, no, Hinduism predates the universe and time itself, apparently. Like, it's in the fabric of the universe, so you can't.
Is that like, the meme that has the brains and then it's like, yes, the like, light up expanding one?
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you've reached enlightenment.
There's also some beliefs in people in Hinduism, that they think like the priests and the sages, they are above the gods themselves, and they have like art and depicting that the gods are serving them. Anyways, that goes into weird territories.
Yeah, we really need to move to the next news because you have stuff to do.
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me. Can we clap for the next news? Oh no. Next news.
Next news. Iranian soldiers arrest lesbian near Turkish border. On November 6th, Tasnim news agency reported that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC, arrested individuals suspected of being, quote, head of a women's and girls network trafficking Iranian girls and, quote, supporting homosexual groups in the West Azerbaijan province of Iran. Iran Wired reported that the person the IRGC arrested is an LGBTQ supporter named Sarah. This is not the first time Sarah has been arrested. Her first arrest occurred when she had been interviewed with BBC Persian and discussed the current plight of the LGBTQ community in Iraq's Kurdistan region. Following the interview, she was detained by Iraqi Kurdistan police for 21 days. After being released, Sarah decided to travel through Iran to then cross the Turkish border and seek asylum. A British human rights and LGBT advocate, Peter Thatchell, said Sarah's arrest indicates that the Islamic Republic of Iran still actively persecutes members of the LGBTQ community.
Wait, she crossed to Turkey? She crossed to Turkey?
She was trying to. So she's from Iraq. She was trying to go through Iran to get to Turkey. And she was arrested while she was almost there. But what's interesting is that so usually according to like more conservative, correct me if I'm wrong, Armin, typically you can only really be punished for homosexuality in Iran if you're actually like caught doing a gay sex act. But there's
Well,
also people
not
who are
no.
persecuted for like propaganda and talking about it, like trying to.
No, for advocacy as well. Like,
Okay.
okay, so if you're like, I'm a girl, I like girls, I want to have sex with girls, and that's what like you can't get punished for that. Like if you say like I'm a lesbian, okay, technically, okay, you cannot get punished for that in Iran because you haven't like they think like okay you have an illness but you're not giving into temptations, so good for you, good job, like maybe go turn into a like, and they're confused about sexual orientation and gender identity, so
Okay.
they're like, oh, if you they tell you if you want to sleep with a woman just go, you know, turn into a man, and now it's legal. Yay, they think they have a solution for that. They're like, people that don't have
We
gender
fixed
dysphoria.
it.
We fixed it. Like, wow, look how progressive we are. We don't
Forced
punish
transgenderism. We fixed
we
it.
don't we don't punish lesbians or gay men. We just make them go through you know, like even though they are happy with their gender, they can change their gender, and now they could be with their gender that they want. Like they're completely confused. And some people in Western countries, some leftists congratulate them, like, oh my god, in Iran they actually accept transgender surgery.
They
Like,
pay
yeah,
for the surgeries. You're like,
yeah, but for people who don't want it, sometimes, like, okay, so that's a whole nother world. But yeah, no, but it's not just the sex that could get you in trouble. It's the advocacy for the rights or criticizing the government's views on them. Like you could get in trouble for that as well. Like, I mean, you take for example, she's gotten arrested not for having sex because I don't think they have caught her. They have they have proof that she had sex with somebody. Like they she's arrested for advocacy and talking to the enemy, or like spreading corruption on earth, like spreading degeneracy, or like, you know,
yeah. So
yeah, stuff like, yeah.
according to the
Go on.
report, the IRGC said in a statement that one of the charges against the so-called smuggling network was, quote, communicating with and supporting homosexual groups who operated under the support of multi-regional intelligence services.
So by smuggling groups, they're talking about, I'm assuming they're talking about trying to get people out of this crap hole place that they're being persecuted. You know, like they're
Yes, I mean,
getting people to freedom.
they
Like they're
are
talking about when they say human trafficking, because they call it human trafficking as if it's against their will. Like this is getting people to LGBT people to freedom. This is not human trafficking. This is saving people.
I don't know if she entered Iran legally or not.
I mean, I don't blame her if she's trying to get away. Like I'm not gonna blame
No,
for
I
like,
mean,
oh, why did you like if you're
just
trying
to
to
be
get
clear.
out, if she's trying to run away from Iraq and Iran, like I'm not gonna be like, well, did you file the correct papers? Like no, get the hell out of there. Like I'm so sorry that she didn't manage to get out. Yeah, I don't have any respect for Iranian laws, so it's not like, oh, she committed something illegal based on Iranian laws. Like, okay, good. Wish it worked. Um, yeah, but yeah, I'm so sorry that they got her before she could get out. Hopefully, she finds another way to get out. Is she still under arrest? Yeah, probably.
It's not really clear like what her situation is at the moment. You know, we were looking
No.
for more recent reports and it's not currently known.
Um, I hope we could put pressure. Guys, share this news to more people, so that people more there's some level of pressure, there's some level of international attention to this, so that they can't get away with abusing her. It does matter, by the way. The more people know about these stories, the more these countries feel the pressure, international pressure, and they might change their behavior. Sometimes they have. Anyways, can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can.
Next news.
Next news. New study shows explosive increase of non-religious in the United States of America. According to the National Public Opinion Reference Survey, or NPORS for short, of the Pew Research Center, around 3 out of 10 adults now consider themselves unaffiliated to any religion. The survey shows that more than 10 years ago, 75% of adults identified as Christians. Now, the number has significantly dropped to 63%. A similar annual survey conducted by Gallup reflects that before 2000, church membership was consistently above 70%, but by 2020, it dropped down to 47%. The decline is seen mostly in the decline in the Protestant population is higher than within the Catholic and Mormon populations. David Campbell, a professor at the University of Notre Dame who also wrote about the secularization in America, said that the decline in religious identity is at least in part a reaction to the political environment. So I wanted to talk about this news because it has been a bombshell news, and every frickin' secular and atheist organization in this country and abroad is talking about this news because look at that slope, baby, and look at us climb.
In such a short amount of time as well.
It's crazy.
Wow. Oh, other religions only grew from 5 to 6. That's great. So it's not like they're leaving Christianity for other religions. They're leaving Christianity for no religion. We're winning. We're winning. We're winning. So like the people who are saying, oh, people are leaving Christianity for Islam. No, they're not. Look at this number. Okay, but go on. This is such a beautiful graph. It's so beautiful. I love it.
I know,
Wish
it's
this
really
happened.
exciting. I think
Yeah.
just to be clear, like when we say that it's like non-religious or religiously unaffiliated, this doesn't necessarily mean atheist. This oftentimes could mean people who have some sort of like vague spirituality or spiritual beliefs that don't fit into a religious label, or it could be people who are atheists but don't self-identify as atheists, and this can also include actual self-identified atheists and agnostics. You know, like all of these people are included within this percentage, right? But that doesn't mean that it's 100% atheists. Like I read a lot of articles about this, and oftentimes they do profile people who left religion, they're religiously unaffiliated, but they still believe in a higher power, or they still have they do tarot, you know, like other vague spiritual beliefs.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not.
It's just like you for most people, it's just a temporary holding place.
Mhm.
This is a large part of this no religion is atheist. So that's
Yes.
as well. Like if there was an atheist graph, that would maybe be under here, but it will also have a slope upwards, right? So
I love
yeah.
this. It's a slippery slope.
No, no. I mean, I hope so. Actually, at what point would these cross? What year? I wonder. Like the headline news for Atheist Republic one day be there are more more non-Christians than Christians in the United States. That would be the
I
day.
think, honestly, I think that that's a possibility within the next 10 years.
No way, really? Oh my god,
Yes.
that's fantastic.
I
Okay, that
honestly
would
do possibility.
that would that would be great.
I don't know how
And
likely
guys,
it is, but I think it's a possibility.
and this is Pew Research Center, right? It doesn't get better than Pew and Gallup, right? These are
Mhm.
these one of the best, um, one of the most authentic, legitimate sources of polling data. Like they know their stuff. It doesn't get really better than this.
Like
Anyways, yeah,
it fell 13%. 12 to 13% in 10
yeah,
years. That's
that's
crazy.
crazy. That is crazy.
So that's why I'm saying if you have that growth again in the next 10 years, that'll put Christians below 50%.
What happened here?
No, no, Armin, look at the timeline. What happened there is the big disease going around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Look at the
Well, we
access.
don't. Yeah, interesting. We had some setbacks here, but we made up for it right away. Oh, what happened here? Interesting.
Trump, that's what happened.
Oh
Trump
my
was
God,
elected in
yeah.
2016.
I don't know. Well, we don't know if these correlations or causations. So
I
yeah,
mean,
correlate. Just
it's a pretty
remind.
fair estimation.
It's a good guess, but again, they're just guesses. We have no reason to know for sure, right? Okay.
Well, no, what I want to
Yeah.
say though is that polls like this and data like this shows why it is important for secular people to get it. I actually don't like the word secular for non-believers because Christians or religious people can be secular. So non-believers, it's important for non-believers to be vocal in politics. And this is what I'm saying as an individual, okay? Because you don't want we have been we're increasingly powerful within the proportion of our population, right? But we are not powerful within our own body politic, right? Where is our representation? Where do we have politicians that talk about our desires for a really firm separation of church and state? We have the Republicans, which are so far gone, and literally there are scholars saying that people are leaving religion because of how the conservative side of the aisle has taken over this issue. Like it's actually motivating people to leave. So that like because of how bad it is. So we have that on that side of the aisle. But then on the Democratic side of the aisle, we have Democrats that continue to just pander to religious populations because they are trying to pull people over and get moderates as much as they can. So we don't actually, in my opinion, really have people who or we don't have as many people as I would want us to have who do reflect our values and who do fight for our issues. We have amazing representatives like Representative Jamie Raskin, who helped introduce into the House the bill that prioritized the repeal of blasphemy and apostasy laws in, the United States bilateral foreign relationships. So like stuff like that is amazing, or the Secular Coalition of America is amazing, or there's Freethinker Caucus. Like these are all good things, but we need more. And so, you know, non-believers who dismiss you as saying, "Oh, you're just trying to get political," or that's what religious people do, like, and we don't want to be like them. They're actually doing everyone, including religious people, a massive disservice with that kind of attitude. So,
that's the reason why actually what Megumin is saying here is not true. Like you're saying, great to see America becoming more secular. Well, actually, it's not. The people are leaving religion, but for some reason, the politics is becoming less secular. I mean, look at the Supreme Court. Look at Q, the rise of Q. Look at women's rights. Look at abortion laws. Like these are being challenged. We're going like, I mean,
and like Governor Abbott, who puts forward, or SB 8, the Texas abortion law, they're citing God the entire time they're talking about these issues. Like there's no way that anyone could mistake it for anything else. They're explicitly religious when they're pushing forward these policies. It's
right.
like I don't know how that's not seen as like what's the word? Like neglect of your own office. Like it's crazy.
Right. So the demographic change will not lead into a political change unless non-religious people become politically active, right? Like this is why you get a government that is not representative of its people, especially because what Susanna said, a lot of secular or non-religious people, non-religious is more accurate to say, are allergic to becoming organized and doing political stuff because they're like, yeah, that sounds like religion. That's too much like, well, okay, great. You give the monopoly over the influence over our lives to religion because you guys feel icky to get organized because you think like 4 people getting together and doing something, you think that's religious. Like, oh, what are you gonna do next? Meet on Sunday and have like a collection play? Like, oh yeah, so that by that argument, every single charity or every other movement,
Maybe
every single
maybe
yeah,
we will.
every single civil rights movement in history becomes a religion based on these people's definition of what a religion is, right? So this is why you suffer under religious, you know, by religious politicians, because you guys are too stupid. Some atheists and some non-religious people are too stupid to realize that religion doesn't have a monopoly over activism. It doesn't have a monopoly over creating communities. It doesn't have monopoly over charity. It doesn't have monopoly over actually taking actions and doing something. And you thinking that it does makes them more powerful and lets them rule over you. So congratulations, you played yourself. Enjoy not having access to abortion, I guess, right? Anyways, so can we, what do I highlight? What do I need? Do we highlight and go? Do I
Yes.
first talk? Okay, right. Okay. Can we clap for the next news?
Sure, yeah, we can.
Okay. Next news.
Next news, Indian court versus Atheist Republic. So, guys, I told you that when we have legal updates that we can give you, I'm going to come with you with legal updates regarding our situation in, well, multiple areas of the Indian court system. So, this is the latest. If you guys will remember, there was a petition in the Delhi High Court to mandate that Twitter remove some of our tweets, and we can, be refreshed, do a refresh of what those tweets are if we want. But so this is what this case is about. On November 30th, Atheist Republic's legal counsel in India attended a hearing in the Delhi High Court in which the prosecuting lawyers sought to have the Indian government move to order Twitter to remove several of Atheist Republic's tweets that were deemed objectionable. At that time, Twitter's legal representation asked the court to give them a week to file an affidavit in compliance with the High Court's order to remove the specified tweets. This means that Twitter is moving to demonstrate to the court that they have complied with their orders. After the requested days off, the matter was due to be heard again on December 9th, but the bench was not sitting, and the next hearing has been moved to February 2022. So when that happens, we will give you updates at that time. The lawyers who originally brought forth the petition have also engaged senior counsel so that at the next hearing, this will allow us to gain a better understanding of what they are arguing and if they will seek the full suspension of our Twitter account. Atheist Republic's legal counsel is poised to intervene against coercive orders at the next hearing. Rudresh is saying Indian bureaucracy can confuse you, especially if you're sitting on the outside. Oh, so you don't have to tell me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, thank you. I want to thank our lawyers for trying to make sense of this for us. They have been very helpful. So thank you for that. If they're watching,
they are amazing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, one, I promised you guys that I would talk about what's going on with us when we're able to, and these are all public court proceedings, so we're completely able to talk about these things. And I also wanted to talk about it because, Twitter has shown that they are willing to actually move forward and comply with these court orders, which I actually found kind of shocking because, I think it's really interesting that they would move to have this removed altogether, as opposed to just saying like, we'll block these from the Indian market, right? That's what Facebook did. They just blocked it to their Indian users in India, right? They didn't remove our page entirely, for example. So what Twitter said at the last hearing was basically, okay, like we want a few days, we'll bring you an affidavit. And when that affidavit, it's like written evidence that they planned to comply with the court's orders and give a timeline for when they're actually going to execute the order, right? So the tweets that they have an issue with are still, last time I checked, they're still up. they're still visible to everyone. Well, I mean, here in America. So at the next hearing, that's when they'll actually bring forward their affidavit showing basically their roadmap of what they plan to do, how they plan to comply. And our lawyers are prepared to intervene against this coercion. But I also, oh, interesting. Wait, Katie is saying the gay marriage hearing was also supposed to happen the same day at the same court, moved to February because new cases have been filed again for gay marriage and it will be live streamed.
Wait, with this, are they saying that they're gonna proceed with removing some tweets or the entire account?
Well, so this is what we're going to learn more about at the next hearing, because Twitter has retained senior counsel. So that's when we are going to get more information about how they plan to proceed. And the prosecution. That's when they've retained the senior counsel, excuse me. And that's when we'll be able to get more information about if they plan to fight for and argue how they are going to argue, and if they're going to fight for a full suspension.
I can't believe we have like one of the largest companies in the world arguing with one of the most political parties in the world over our tweets.
Well,
which happened.
We have to be precise, Armin. None of these people, to our knowledge, are representative of the BJP.
Okay.
So you can't say it's the party. It's not the party. It
what
might
are they
be
then?
People who share their agenda, likely.
I didn't say like it's like Modi himself, like talking like looking at our tweets and talking with this guy.
I just want to be like,
I didn't. Yeah, of
precise.
course it's going to be people on their side and people on their side. I'm not saying Modi and the CEO of Twitter are directly talking about Atheist Republic. Okay, that's not what I'm saying, right? But still, you have a government in India that apparently wants to get Twitter. Like they're spending legal resources, both sides, to talk about our tweets that happen to be problematic because they're drawings of Hindu goddesses, right? Like, is this like what the world is coming? Like, we have like, I just think is this like an Onion like news article? This is a joke. Like, we're talking about goddesses, and apparently that we're not talking about real people, okay? And we're talking about we're talking about drawings of goddesses, and somehow legal resources have been. Is this taxpayer money that is being spent on this?
Well, presumably, because it's in the public court now. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have Indians being their tax money is being used by this government to argue with Twitter over drawings of Hindu goddesses. Like, are you serious? Is this a joke?
Because the High Court agreed that it was objectionable and should be removed.
The fact that the High Court of India is discussing our tweets of drawings of goddesses, it should
the Delhi High Court.
Like, if you are in India, the Supreme Court also had our tweets presented to them as well. It was the Delhi High Court, but also the Supreme Court of India had our tweets presented to them. Okay, but like, honestly, if you're an Indian, you should be more offended that your government is involved in this than the Hindu goddess is being drawn. Like, I would be triggered if I was an Indian. I would be like, what the hell are you doing? We have other problems here. Like, what is this? Like, why? This is an embarrassment. This not only does not bring benefits to India, this is an embarrassment. This is making us look ridiculous. We're becoming a laughing stock. People will point at us and laugh, okay? Justifiably so. But yeah, go on. You were saying something?
Well, it's funny because the tweets that they want removed, one of them was a tweet announcing the speech that I was going to give about the Blasphemous Art Project, where it shows Kali and Sita making out with each other. And then the other one is a photo of an elderly couple meeting with a Hindu priest, and saying, "Your ignorance and stupidity are my sources of income." That's what's so objectionable. Saying like, hey, like, literally priests rely on you to be fed. Like, that's literally.
But that's what they said. That's on the news. Oh my god, unbelievable. But it's amazing because, guys, the first tweet that you mentioned, it wasn't just it wasn't even like the tweet was not about the drawing of the Hindu goddesses. It was about a speech that happened to have in the small corner section of the tweet, it was like one of the drawings shown. Like one of the other tweets that they seem to be having an issue with was a picture of all of our t-shirts. Most of them had nothing to do with Hinduism. One of the t-shirts has a picture of a Hindu goddess on it, which makes the Hindu goddess picture on the shirt such a small part of the entire picture. But that one t-shirt having a Hindu goddess on it was enough for them to want it to go entirely nuclear on this on this picture. Like, it's just a small part of the entire pic. But like,
to be clear, I think those were different people, but it's the same attitude.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that these are all like, no, the people. These are complete, like, they're all like, we're either talking about the police. We're talking about people filing FIR reports against us to the police. We're talking about individual lawyers making it their mission to come after us. We're talking about the government. We're talking about Twitter. Like, we're talking about the Supreme Court or the Delhi High Court. Like, there's so many different independent, which makes it more ridiculous. Like, this is such a butthurt. Like, these drawings have caused so much butthurt that it's not just one entity in India that is rising against us. It's just multiple private and governmental entities all making this their mission to just remove us from India. By the way, we're not going anywhere, okay? Like, I don't know what you guys think we're going. Like, you think like they removed our Facebook from India? Like, they're constantly going after our Twitter with like either using mass reporting or these legal ways, or going directly to Twitter themselves. But they're going to try to get us removed from India on Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. But like, we're just going to double down. Like, this is not like a 1 year, 2 year process for us. Okay. You guys have made it our mission to make sure that we have a large presence in India. And in fact, you have made it so that Hinduism becomes a major target for us, okay? And this is like, we're talking 20, 30, 40 years down the road, like Atheist Republic is going to make India a high priority based on your behavior. It seems like you need some Atheist Republic in India, okay? And that's why we need your help, okay? Because they're coming after us with all these legal stuff, okay? So you guys need to defending ourselves against all of these attacks costs us. Here's a good thing: relatively less than legal costs in other countries, right? Because Indian lawyers is relatively like more affordable compared to other places, right? So look at this. Like, so far, people have donated $1,900 to our fundraising for defending ourselves against Hindutva, and honestly, 1,900 would have done anything for us if we were doing legal battles, I don't know, somewhere in Europe and North America. Like, this 1,900 would have get us like 2 sessions of, I don't know, consultation or something. I'm exaggerating. But so far in India, it has gotten us a lot of return on our investment. Like, our lawyers have done a lot with us, but we need more. But go on. What you want to say? Something?
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. So I recently I managed the fundraiser, and I recently increased our fundraising goal to cover the expenses of these hearings that our lawyers have attended and our upcoming hearings that they're going to attend, because this is an ongoing issue. So if you guys, have the financial ability, we don't want to encourage people to do this if they can't afford to, but it would mean a lot to us and a lot of people in our community, especially our community in India, if you would consider donating. If you feel like you've gained something in your life because of our community or what we bring to you, maybe entertainment, now's a moment where it would really help us out if you could help, contribute to this as well. So please consider donating to our GoFundMe for our legal expenses. Link is in the live chat. Link is also in the description. If you look below, it says help us defend against Hindutva, and you can find it very easily. And the support that we've received thus far is amazing and so meaningful. So I really do appreciate everything that our community has done for us. Like, the responsiveness is so incredible to me.
I heard every dollar donation makes one BJP tier. Shit. Every single dollar. Okay. So if you want to see BGP tiers, donate to us. Link in the description. Okay. If you want to get them triggered and butthurt, because honestly, like this has saved us. So thank you to like, even if you like look at this anonymous person, $86. Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, it
And
was
if
so
you
cool.
can't
As soon
donate,
as I increased it, they donated enough to make it an even 1900.
thank you. Wow,
I was
that's
like,
very sweet.
wow.
Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, if you can't donate, don't feel pressure to donate, but maybe share the fundraiser. Okay, that would really help. Or share this video. Okay, so more people will see it. Okay, so or like this video so that we get more exposure to this. Okay, so that's how you could help if you can't donate. But if you can donate even $1, that would really help us. Again, a dollar goes a much longer way in India than other places. So this you might think like $1 doesn't make that much of a difference. That's what's it's saving us. It's helping us stay alive. Okay, the legal expenses are catching up. So
Mhm.
thank you everyone. Oh wait, one thing I wanted to highlight. I don't think Twitter CEO being from India has any impact on this. Like, you guys like in Twitter CEO is not involved in such smaller things, right? Like, and so
Well,
that doesn't have an
also,
impact.
this started way before he became
Way
CEO.
before,
Way
yeah.
before.
You guys are overestimating the level of involvement the CEO has in day-to-day operations. Um, yeah, I don't think we could do that actually. No. Anyways,
Wait, before we go, I do have a small announcement. Small
go on.
announcement. So, next week we have a slight change in scheduling, small change in scheduling for the news show. Um, Usually it happens on every Saturday. Well, if you're in North America, it's every Saturday, except next week, that's Christmas. And so I can't join on Christmas. But you know what I said to Armin before we started the show? I was like, well, I don't want to. Originally, we were going to skip a whole week, but I was like, I don't want to skip a whole week. So
Oh,
instead, what we're doing is we're pushing it one day back. So if you see it on
is
Sunday, it is now going to be on Monday. If you usually watch the show on Saturday, like I do, or well, I'm doing it, then it's going to be on Sunday. So next week, expect to see us the next day. Okay.
so two things. We don't deserve you. Like, look at this. Like, this is Susanna not the best CEO? She's
Oh,
not like even. She's like, we're not gonna skip. Oh my, that's also another thing. I said like you guys are overestimating how involved a CEO is on day-to-day operations, and Ghost Bunny corrected me. Well, the AR CEO is very involved. True,
true.
true, very true. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you do not leave without liking this video. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps our channel grow, and we do need it. So please make sure you like the video. And thank you, and leave a comment after the stream is over. And yeah, and happy holidays. Given that people get
Because it makes
butthurt
the
over
Pope so
saying
mad. Yeah, we're just gonna say
yes.
happy
I used to
holidays.
say, you know what? I used to say Merry Christmas because it made some atheists trigger some atheists. But now I'm gonna say Happy Holidays because the Pope doesn't like it. Yep.
Yeah, it's
So
worth it this year.
yeah, that's worth it this year. Yeah. Happy holidays, everyone. All right. Bye.
Bye.